Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another edition of the Greatness Delayed podcast for BiteSizeImpressions.com. I'm your host, Michael Zupan, here as always with my loyal co-host, Gus. How's it going?
I'm coffeeed up, baby, so let's do this. Hi,
Yeah.
Mike. How are you?
Yeah, there's kind of a sense of weird deja vu for us here. Just a little FYI for everybody tuning in, because we actually tried doing this show like a week or so ago, and maybe it was a little longer than that. I don't really remember. Timeline is sort of a blur for me. Life is just sort of flying by at the moment. Now
Well,
that both kids are, yeah, it's everything that could go wrong went wrong. Like every single time, like 8 o'clock rolls around every night, my kids are in bed, wife's upstairs. If anything happens, like, it's cool because we're able to record. She's got it covered. But like, Gus and I were recording the last show, and like, she came down the basement stairs here. I can't even, there we go, there. And I was like, I'm trying to record. I told you I'm doing a podcast. She's like, I don't care. Your grandmother's missing. And I was like, oh shit. So
it was from my end. It was like I right out of a John Hughes movie, and I was, and then I don't know what you did with that footage or whatever, because then the plan was like, oh, I'll just talk for like the 5 minutes that it'll take for you to come back,
and then still here on YouTube. It's still on YouTube.
And then you never came back, and you're like, I gotta end it. And then I must have rambled for 20 minutes about games I was playing, which I might ramble about again, but this time I think I'll be a little more focused this time, because also we have new stuff to talk about this time.
Yeah, we do. There's been a lot that's been going on, but just so you guys know, everything's okay with my grandmother. She just was out at a time of day that she's normally never out at. So, she has driven out in the dark before, and she got lost for like hours. So, there was precedence for worry at the time. And then, once, that was resolved, well, my wife actually left to go like driving around to see if she could find her. And then, of course, the only night my baby decides upstairs to cry while I'm recording, of course he does. Every other night he sleeps through the night, no problem. It was just a Murphy's Law sort of a deal. So yeah, we're gonna move right on into things with that little caveat explanation for the stutter step aside. If you happen to tune into that last one at all, or happen to catch it on YouTube, you can skip it though, because this is going to replace that. We're going to talk about video games. Basically, for me so far, it's been the year of the Nintendo Switch, and it kind of didn't intentionally work out that way for me, but it kind of did, just because that's where I think the most interesting games have been so far this year.
Oh yeah, like it's and it's not even just the major releases. Like, I've found like a lot of good small indie games on Switch, and I'm now become like that the Vita owners I mocked so much in the past, but it was always out of like a love, because I understand having a passion for a system. But I've become that, like, I love my Vita Switch owner. Like, I'll find any excuse to play Switch on the go.
Yeah, I mean, it's strange, because I remember on this very podcast at the beginning of the year, after Nintendo had their major event and everything, and I said, there's I don't think I'm going to be using this thing. Probably 99% of the time I'm going to be using it docked, playing it on my television, and I think it's been almost the opposite for me. I don't normally take it out of the house. I have a couple of times, for times I knew I was going to be away for a while. Like, my wife was in the hospital last month, and I had to wait around most of the day. So I brought it with me to play some Zelda and stuff, and it came in handy. But even around the house here, I find myself just playing it here while I'm at the computer farting around, or when I'm upstairs on the weekend with my son while, we're in the living room chilling together. I'll play Mario Kart 8 up there, and I'll play online with people. And what's actually been cool is there's a streamer that he and I both enjoy watching that normally does Super Mario Maker, but he has been playing a lot of Mario Kart 8 lately, and he makes an open tournament invitation. So my son gets to see me playing against this guy live on Twitch on our TV in the living room. So he's like, whoa, that's so cool.
That's so fun.
Yeah, so that's the first game I guess I'm going to bring up. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Is it worth it or not, Gus?
Yeah. It's Mario Kart. It's Mario Kart 8 specifically. my
That's
brain
why they called it Mario Kart 8.
my brain is like kind of scrambled because we covered so much of this last time. So I'm like trying not to repeat, but it doesn't matter because it's still a pretty great game. It's especially like it feels a little more vibrant on Switch.
It does.
Like
That
the look
screen
of
on the
it.
Switch is got a lot to do with that because that screen is pretty fantastic.
Yeah, and I know the last time that we were trying to record, like we were talking about how they made they made like a number of improvements on like the races and stuff on the well they added some of the courses right from the DLC and then we had the characters, but we were specifically talking about what an improvement the battle mode was.
Yeah, and we don't have to gloss over that stuff because again, this podcast is replacing that fucking thing.
Yeah. But that's the biggest standout thing I think for me, other than like actually racing online, is that Mario Kart 8 had Deluxe made like a massive improvement on the battle mode that wasn't very popular in the Wii U version of the game because I think you had told me it was literally just a race with balloons.
That's literally
That's
what the
what it
battle
was.
mode was in Mario Kart 8. And like when the game first launched on the Wii U, it felt a little light in general, just because what was it, like 4 or 5 cups or something like that. It's
Yeah.
okay, but like for like a $60 game, and that's mainly what you're playing it for, it felt a little light. Like they pretty much doubled the content of that game with the DLC that they released, which is kind of awesome and kind of not awesome. It's awesome because that's a lot of content to release for the very little amount of money that they paid for that, wanted people to pay for that DLC compared to like season passes for other games, you know? I mean, I think after all was said and done, you were spending less than $20 for all that content if you bought it together, I think. Where most season passes for other games are $50 or $60. So that's great, but it wasn't that great because it's like you had all this other content you were working on and it just wasn't there at the $60 base level game. But yeah, the battle mode was insane because I mean, battle mode has always been a staple of Mario Kart. Battle mode, was this little closed arena sort of thing where you were forced to combat with other opponents who had balloons attached to the back of their carts, and you had to hit them, and the last person with balloons left on their cart wins. And in Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U, it was literally the regular racing mode just with balloons on the back of the cart, and it's like you're encouraged in the normal races to smack your opponents upside their heads anyway. So I'm not really sure. Like, I'm not sure what the point is because, like, if someone's behind you, it's not exactly fair because you're not trying to collide with one another and actually like duke it out. If the other person gets way too far ahead of you and you're not a great driver to begin with, it's just there's no point. It's basically like Nintendo said, we kind of have to include battle mode, but we don't have the time nor the desire to do it right now. So here you go. Here's another mode, but with fucking balloons attached to your cart. It was terrible.
Yeah.
So that was my major gripe that I had made about the game back then. And yeah, but not only did they do battle mode right by including the arena like battle system, but they have various game modes now on this thing. And like, that's the coolest thing about Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I mean, the battles aren't like the most significant part of the game still. It's probably the last thing that people are going to want to dive into because online racing against other people is huge. It's where it's at. But they actually went and went above and beyond with creating content that wasn't just actually like, okay, this is what people actually want, but they went above and beyond by making content that's never been in any Mario Kart game before. They have these certain modes. Like I know last time you and I were talking about the cops and robbers thing,
which was like my favorite of the battle modes.
I think it's got to be everybody's. If not,
like
it's
basically
just
like a tags dodgeball sort of hybrid, but like a cop and robber theme.
Yeah, and basically in that mode, the cops are piranha plants, and their goal is to drive around and catch everyone else on the other team who are the robbers. And basically anytime that a piranha plant chomps someone, they end up in a jail cell in the middle of the course. And when that happens, it's like you think, okay, you're gonna catch everybody and then it's over. But no, because the twist with that is that there's a little switch that even if there's just one person left on the robbers team, they drive over that and it releases everybody, and then all hell breaks loose again. So it's like this the scales are constantly tipping every which way, and you never really know. Like, you never get that sense that it's unfair. Like, you feel like there's always a chance to win in that mode. So yeah, that's why it's so great. But the other modes are, there's just these little closed off arenas with lots of question mark blocks everywhere, and every single one is a bomb. And I think, I could be mistaken, that the goal is to catch as many coins in that mode as you can. And hopefully who has the most coins wins or whatever.
The one coin mode, right? That's one of the games, right?
You talking about the shine thing?
Oh no, I thought there was a mode. You were talking about like the coins, and I know what you're talking about in my head.
That's the one with the bombs, right?
Okay, yeah.
I think so. And then then there's another one where you have a shine, a Mario Sunshine shine, if you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. There's probably people who are probably too young to know what that is, who have never played that game. By the way, you fucking hate that game. You've been playing that game, and you have been bad-mouthing that thing on Twitter.
No, I have not been playing that game. I've been watching, because I'm a premium Giant Bomb subscriber, and they've been playing it like with like this metagame gimmick attached to it. But it's just funny because just watching them play it, I'm like, God damn, there are things in that game. I've been trashing it just to get a rise out of people, but like there are things in that game where I'm like, oh my God, how can anyone find this fun at all?
I feel like every 3D Mario game has some kind of bullcrap on there, though, that's like just detestable. Like, I really did not enjoy, from as much as I love Super Mario 64 from the N64, I hated coming across those red coin stages. I hated it. And of course, the one thing I hated most of all is that in order to get all the stars in the game, you had to collect 100 coins in most levels. That was a real pain because, like, in some of those stages, they really were kind of sporadic, and they weren't just willy-nilly everywhere like they are in all the 2D platforming Mario games. So
yeah. There was I have, however, been playing Mario Galaxy on the Wii, and there's I haven't touched it in a while, but I've gotten like 70 something stars so far. But there was one level that drove me fucking insane where, like, I don't know if you remember, where it's like there are the blue stars that will grab you, like you grab onto, and it'll latch onto you, sort of like rubber bandy kind of.
Yep. I remember those.
There's an entire level where you kind of have to like maneuver Mario through that, but there are like mines, and if you don't send him like far enough outward in one area, like, and you can't grab him, he'll drop. It took me like so many tries. I forgot the name of like the level, but like you just basically couldn't maneuver him too far out or too far in, otherwise like he'll crash into something and then he'll die.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of Mario games have that. Like they throw a lot of different ideas out there so that there's a lot of gameplay variety throughout each of these games, and then there's some aspects of these games that don't always work, even in the best Mario games. Super Mario Sunshine definitely has that, but like overall, like I used to think it wasn't that great a game when it first came out. Like I think it was just so different at the time compared to what I was kind of hoping for or expecting, that, and with that, and I never really liked the GameCube controller feel, the button layout, so that disappointed me too, and it was kind of a bit of a pain. But nowadays when I play that game, it actually holds up really, really well. I actually have a lot of fun with that game nowadays, so you might want to try playing it yourself.
We'll see.
We'll see if GameCube games ever come to the Nintendo Switch, right? Like was long rumored. So yeah, Mario Kart 8, Mario blah blah blah. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is definitely worth it. The next game that we've been Gus and I have both been playing, even together once or twice, which we should try and do more often. Splatoon 2.
Splatoon. I was actually playing that before we were recording.
Oh, were you?
I only got one round in, and we won like by the skin of our teeth. But that was because I hadn't played it in like a week, maybe, or almost 2 weeks actually, because like. Because another game came out, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, Splatoon 2. Splatoon 2 is good. It is technically my first Splatoon, though I did play like the first game's free like Splat test fire thing they were doing before like the game launched. You know what's okay? So Splatoon 2, the thing about that game, it's very fun, and I'm sure like everyone has an opinion about how that game plays coming from that first game, but as a new player, one thing I like to do in that game, my preferred method of playing it is to take the Joy-Cons and hold one in each hand separately, which you have said that you tried and that's just not your thing.
No, it wasn't my thing, but like I could definitely see that being something that a lot of other people would find a much easier and more satisfying way to play for like aiming and everything. I mean, logically, it sounds great.
Yeah. So I guess like when I play it like in that way, it's super comfortable for me. But then sometimes I kind of wonder like I'm just like I guess I'm just curious like you know how people played that for the first game, I guess, because I'm looking at like the Wii U gamepad, I guess. And I'm just thinking about like the joysticks, and this isn't me asking that like you're playing it wrong. I'm just super curious because I don't really play Splatoon 2 in the handheld mode of the Switch, oddly of all games. Simply because that separate Joy-Con method is what I'm super comfortable with. But I guess I just wonder how people aim otherwise in that game. Maybe this is just me just saying that's how comfortable I am with the Joy-Con mode, but it just that game controls like just so well.
Yeah, I used motion controls with that ginormous Wii U gamepad with the original Splatoon, because I did think overall it was definitely the far more accurate way to play because you were able to zip around faster with your aim than using the joystick. But
Oh yeah, I almost forgot that Wii U gamepad even had gyro controls.
oh yeah, it totally did, and
Forgot about that.
I think it was like a small argument online between people. It's like, no, I never use that shit on there. That thing's too big. And other people are like, it's the best way to play. It's so more fun, so much more fun and accurate. I think it was more accurate, but it was a little cumbersome sometimes because, as you know, like you can hit a button to sort of reset your gyroscope in case your controls get all wonky and like way out of the park or whatever. But like you kind of found yourself holding the game pad like flat for most of the time and then like tilting it up if you were aiming up or whatever. It was a little cumbersome. Like I don't normally complain about the Wii U gamepad. I think it was actually for its size very comfortable with the way that the grips on the back were made and everything. But yeah, it wasn't great for Splatoon, but that didn't stop me from enjoying the hell out of that game.
It's a very fun game because like and again like I just covering like what we were talking about like last time. It for me it's that just basic like every match is short, so there's like there's it's short enough for me where like I can just get those quick games in
Yeah, it's
and
like 3 minutes or something, isn't it?
yeah, and the concept of covering your like the entire map with like your own ink is like a fun novel thing because it's and I guess it's technically new to me because I'm mostly playing
I
like
personally can't think of any other games that do that.
yeah. I just kind of like that whole pick up and play like real quick thing. The way they just kind of set it up, which is kind of funny to say, just because playing in a Splatoon 2 match, even if it's like ranked, I have like tried the ranked stuff, and I'm like it's not that into it. I like the regular turf war mode, but it's just kind of funny too, given that everything else around Splatoon 2 is kind of cumbersome in a way, because like yeah, you fire it up and you're always greeted with like the intro from the two new main characters, Pearl and Marina, and
Yep.
they're always telling you like what the levels are and what new weapons are available and the new maps, and then whether or not Salmon Run is available, which we'll get into in a minute.
All I got to say to that, where you're going with this, is that Japan has some pretty good drugs, I think, because
Oh, yeah, there was a good. The funny thing is, it came out of a bigger article, which is actually a pretty good read from Rolling Stone, where they spoke to like one of the few like Western developers in Japan who had worked. He works at Nintendo. I think he works at Nintendo. He's not just like contracted with them like freelance or something, but
Mhm.
he worked with Kojima on Metal Gear 5, on Metal Gear Solid 5. I think he was actually giving Kojima like Western like sensibilities, I guess I'll say, like ideas on how Western gamers would want to approach like the design of the game.
Yep.
And yeah, at one point he got asked about Splatoon 2 because he worked on that, I believe, and they asked him about the whole like why is Salmon Run limited, like where did that come from and all that, and basically the answer amounted to, well, the developers felt like, yeah, you bought the game, but this is how we want you to play it.
Oh,
So
I heard that. Yeah, I did read that article.
it became like in some circles, like it became a whole thing of contention, which I mean, yeah, I get it. Like, if you're designing a game a certain way, a specific way, and you want your vision. It's like the whole George Lucas thing. What did this dude?
Well, I mean, I think when I read that response myself, what was going on in my brain was they don't want to split up their game player base. Like it's
That's
pretty
true. Yeah.
strong, but I think they would feel far more comfortable making sure that everybody's participating in the normal modes. It's because it's already split between like the casual, the hardcore, and then like the league matches.
Yes. Yeah.
And like if they keep fractioning and fractioning and fractioning, so they figure, okay, every once in a while we're gonna do this salmon run thing, and we'll let people participate in that, but then we'll reel them back into the normal game modes. So I mean, I just don't know why companies can't be upfront and actually tell us that. Like
Yeah.
I respect that. I mean, yeah, you should be able to play it whenever the hell you want. Like I
you
agree with
disagree,
that.
but you appreciate that they were upfront about it. That they were just like, this is our vision.
Yeah, I appreciate that they were saying it's our vision, but I would have appreciated if they didn't try to blow some smoke behind that. Like they should have just said, like, we just want to make sure that everybody's playing together so that there's a lot of people participating in the same modes and like not having trouble getting in the matches. Because anytime you get into a match in Splatoon, if you're down just one player on a 4-person team, like it's pretty devastating. Yeah.
Yeah, you are effed. And there was that round I was playing. And this was another thing about Splatoon 2, a big thing I remember mentioning last time, and this happened tonight. So there was a moment where on my team, we actually wiped out the entire team at one point. Like we splatted them out of the match, and all of them. And then that obviously meant, oh, now we have time to like completely cover the map. And that means jack because, once the final minute of the match happens, like, and this is my favorite thing about multiplayer games, and like the thing that can also drive me crazy is like, this is your moment to be clutch, and like you can have a moment to come back from the match, and sometimes it happens, and it actually almost happened with the other team after we had wiped them, we had splatted all of them out of existence. They came back, they splatted the map pretty well, and then when it came time, and the game will show you like how much got splatted by both teams, I was like, oh my god, we lost, but we had that whole map covered at that point, but we won by like 1 point something percent. And even though like we still won, that game always gives you that chance to come back. So it's almost arguably like the first 2 minutes don't matter at all in that game.
Splatoon is insanely fun for so many reasons, because as we were saying before, the fact that you can devote your time to splatting the map with this colored ink instead of actually doing the normal online shooter thing and just killing everybody, it makes you useful even if you're not good in that type of gameplay mode.
Yeah.
You can still participate and help your team win and even come up with more points than anyone else just by doing that. You're actually rewarded more for the ink than for killing other players. So and yeah, there's the fact that it doesn't matter how far you are in a match, like the tide can change really, really quick. So it never feels like you're like, oh, well, the team's got 60% and we've only got 40, so we might as well give up. That never happens. Splatoon is so finely balanced in that way. And a couple of things that I really like about the balancing of this game too is that the way that the stages are designed, it feels pretty even on each side. I never like whenever I play. I'm sorry.
They seem mirrored pretty much. So if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
see your side and that's pretty much the other side, and you're really just fighting for the center of the map.
Yeah, like in Counter-Strike, when I play that game all the time on the computer, it's like there are certain maps that come up and I'll be like, oh, this is a terrible terrorist map. Why do I have to be a terrorist? It's so hard for us on this map. Like that kind of thought never enters my mind while playing this game.
And I noticed that the weapon, and this is also like a point of contention, I guess, with other players. I feel like the weapon selection in Splatoon 2 seems also designed to take into consideration the type of player that like you want to be. So
Yep.
I really prefer to actually try and cover the map with ink. So I go with I went back to the NES Zapper looking gun. I forget what it's called in the game, but it's the NES Zapper. Uh,
I
and
love that
it
thing.
has a really good fire rate and good range, and I think the damage is actually not that bad. It's a very well balanced gun.
It is.
I really like it, and it's especially good for covering the map. But some people like to get up close, and so they'll use like a roller or the splash bucket and stuff like that, or like a sniper likes someone who likes to be long range can use like the sniper rifle type gun. And then there's stuff like the splat. There was a couple of weeks ago they had introduced the Splatbrella, I think it's called, where it was basically a shotgun. It is shot long range, and I got super like worried because I'm thinking, oh, not only can you defend yourself now, like prevent ink from hitting you, but now you can shoot a long range. This is going to be broken as shit, but everyone got around it eventually, and it was like the world was good. The world was balanced again. And the same is like for the arrow spray and MG, which is probably the most popular gun in that game because it shoots and has an insane fire rate and the range is good. But you can pretty much get around that too, and like be fearless against people who equip that and take them out.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I
yeah,
mean,
like I just really like the. It's just like a fun experience. I think like there's something for everybody in that game.
absolutely. Um, something that actually also seems like it might be for more people than it seemed like when it was first announced. Mario Rabbids.
Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom
Yeah,
Battle.
when that our buddy Gabe, when we were having that when that game got first announced and we saw that trailer, like he and I both agreed that game's going to sell like 2 copies. Like
Like who is this for?
right, who exactly is this for? Like are people who are playing on Nintendo, do they really care that much about like that,
Do they
like
care about Rabbids? Like first of all,
right, right, that's another thing. I mean, that's a brand that seemingly, you would think has no foothold anywhere, that nobody really cares for it, because like those Rayman games, even though there were some of the best platformers ever made, came out last generation of gaming with Rayman Legends and Origins. um People aren't, you don't think they're too crazy about Rabbids, but lo and behold, there's a ton of Rabbids merchandise that's been out. There's been a TV show with the Rabbids. I don't think it's going now, but like they've actually had kind of a decent pop culture run. It's just not as held in place as something like Pokemon is, um, or even like Sonic the Hedgehog for that matter. But they've been around, so it did seem like an interesting pairing. But when I looked at that, like for me personally, that gameplay style is not something I genuinely enjoy. I don't really like the tactical, RPG kind of thing. I usually just like the turn-based RPGs of yesteryear. Um, so when I saw this sort of XCOM looking Mario slash Rabbids game, I was like, this just looks dumb. I don't want anything, like, I don't know. But the game came out, and then there was a ton of positive reviews for this thing. And I always take that with a grain of salt because reviews online are usually pretty positive anyway. But there was a lot of positive word of mouth from gamers and people that have independent websites and forums like that I do trust, generally speaking. And so I said, you know what, maybe I'll give this a shot, because my son wanted to play it too. So that was another justification for being able to get the game. And lo and behold, I think it's amazing. It's a great game. It is so much fun. And I hadn't really been able to put it down. I have this last week just because I've been busy now that, like school started up and everything again. And between that and my oldest son having soccer games and soccer lessons and everything. And like my schedule's been pretty crazy, but it's a great game. It's a great game. Like if this is something that you looked at and like me immediately dismissed, you should really kind of check it out if you have a Nintendo Switch. What are your thoughts on the game? Because you get more like in depth with those thoughts than I do generally.
So when we tried to record the first time, I had only played like at least the first couple of battles of the first world, and I was like, oh, this is pretty fun. This is not just a novel thing, but this is actually pretty well thought out kind of whole system. But then like the mechanics started like kind of coming in, and I finished excuse me, I finished the second world I want to say Monday, and I feel like the pros outweigh the cons when I think about this game, because when I get into battle, it's always fun trying to think about where you're going to place your characters, your team. Like the one thing I enjoy and stuff like that, I love like, and this is like the football nerd in me, where like I think about setting my team, who's strong where, you know, where can I place them, where can I take advantage of these moves. And like the thing, if you don't know, if you're not playing this game, like you get each character, it's like a couple of Mario World characters, and then the Rabid World characters that are like versions of the Mario, like cosplaying as like the Mario characters. Yep. But they all have kind of unique, like they have a unique attributes going for them. Like, you know, like Mario is always going to be, in any game he's in, Mario is going to be like the balanced guy, like the guy that the hardcore player can play, or like a more casual person can play. And his gun is like this regular blaster, and he can do stuff like you know, if you can bounce off your teammate, and then you can stomp like he would in any other game, like stomp on enemies' heads, and then you can send them like further into the map, farther than like maybe a regular movement will allow. And then like Luigi is like the long sniper type, and then like his Rabid counterpart is like a more defensive type, and then you unlock other characters along the way.
And there's also the slide move too.
The slide move is super great if you have Rabid Luigi on your team, because he can pretty much heal. Like he'll be able to heal like a whole team basically if he activates his vampire ability, which is like super random, but it's also just great. But yeah, like I don't know, maybe this speaks to my like skill as a strategy player, but like I guess I got through the second world, like each battle like got tough, but I like only like, but never to the point where I got like super frustrated with the game, but like maybe once or twice where I was like, God damn it. Because it's not even just like a figuring out the best strategy, but like the way they establish enemies and different goals in the game, like, you know, you have to really think about how you want to do it. And there's a whole rating system where if you can do a whole battle in like X number of turns and not lose anybody in the process, you know, you get more rewards for that, and you can complete the challenge stuff. I think what I really like most about the game, and this is what I always appreciate in like any game, is when you can talk about moments, like moments that are like yours. So like I can talk about how like, you know, like I friggin' won a battle against like one of those. How far did you get in the game?
I'm still in World 2 myself.
Okay, so you'll meet some new Rabid types like as you go through the game. So you'll probably meet like the gigantic Rabids that like to smash you if you like get near them or something like that. I forgot.
Oh yeah, they were even in the first world, in the latter part of the first world. Yeah, they're pretty annoying.
I like trying to, yeah, but it's always
cool because like the strategy around those is like, because if you shoot them from a distance, like they'll charge you. So you could use that to your advantage. So like, because there's certain parts of the levels where the goal is not to destroy all the enemies on the battlefield, but from basically to get to the end, to get from point A to point B. So to sort of clear the way with like two of your teammates while one just basically makes a run for it. the whole way down, turn after turn. Like it's pretty interesting. Like you said, figuring out who's good for what, where they should be placed. I didn't think I was going to be good at that. Like I haven't really had difficulty yet. As you had said, there have been some moments where I had to basically play through a certain section and maybe get stomped or something, or at least not end up with as many rewards as I would have liked to. But it just gives me more incentive to go back and replaying. And that's another great aspect about this game too, is that there are tactical games that you kind of play through them, and because the gameplay experience during your replay is so similar, there's not a lot of incentive to go back and play. But Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle make it so that it encourages you to go back and do better and better to get those extra rewards. And that replayability factor in this game is huge for me. Like I finished the first world, but before I even wanted to tackle World 2, all I wanted to do was go back and replay all those sections in World 1 again and grind for coins in order to buy the better guns.
Yeah, I gotta keep doing that. I actually just started. I finished World 2, and yet I did not touch at all the challenge levels in World 1 until I was just like, oh, let me just check these out. But yeah, like I'll cop to. I will say that like any frustration I tend to get in Mario Rabbids is totally 100% like my own, because in the end it's not that serious. Like if you lose like a guy during the battle but you can still eke out the victory, like go for it. But like me, I'm the guy that's like, no, I got to get the perfect. So
I'm usually not actually that way. I usually just like to make sure I can get by, but in this game I definitely have that. No, I want to get that 100%. I don't want to lose anybody on my team.
And I love that accomplishment of like, oh, cool, I beat this objective in even less moves than a perfect rating like requires. And there's just a lot of fun and there are a lot of fun like humorous moments in that game for a game like that has like little to no dialogue other than when the little rabbit who freaking Roomba thing talks.
They really have done a great job melding the Super Mario property with Rabbids and not making one seem more overwhelmingly the star of the show than the other. That's really impressive. I mean, considering the fact, especially that Ubisoft were developing this and not Nintendo, and like this game really worked out really well. I know that charming is sort of a cringy sort of word nowadays, since everybody uses that for anything that's actually kind of nice.
I'm already rolling my eyes, but
right. But
I know what you get. I know what you're saying, though. I know what you're saying.
It is a charming game. It is, it is fun. It is whimsical.
The only thing, like,
it hits all the right notes.
The only thing I would like, and this might be a me problem, I'll easily admit that, but like, the only like real con that I give it is that sometimes, like, navigating through the actual overworld of those games can feel like a little tedious. This happened a lot in World 2 for me, and because there are like a lot of block puzzles, which I get, like, it's because it would feel even more monotonous if you just went from point A to point B with like nothing really going on in between.
Right, battle the battle.
But I guess because also they littered that overworld with so many secrets and stuff, so it's not so much like, oh, I got lost here and all that. But I guess like I just felt like, oh man, I could really use a 2D map version of this, like to pause, just to like kind of navigate, because I hear it gets even more like convoluted in later worlds. And
that makes sense. But there's like what, like 4 or 5 worlds?
I think there's just 4 worlds in general for now. I wonder if like they'll support it down the road.
I don't know. I think they're selling a season pass. Hi, Ubisoft.
Oh right, this is Ubisoft.
It's a Ubisoft game, so there's a season pass, and I don't know if that just means it's going to be like more weapons or like little like gadgets for each of the characters to use in battle, or if like they're actually going to do like level world expansions. I don't know. That remains to be seen. But I'm not plunking any money down for anything other than new worlds. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Don't pre-buy season passes. Just don't do it. It's not good. Don't buy content that doesn't even exist yet, please. That's always been one of my major messages. And I've done it for a couple of games, but those were games that I was pretty sure I was going to be safe buying that content for, like Battlefront. I was happy I did it. Which, by the way, as of this recording, apparently all the Star Wars Battlefront DLC is free on PS4, Xbox One, and the PC.
Oh wow.
So if you got the base version of that game on any of those platforms, check it out. Anyway, yeah, Mario and Rabbids, super freaking fun.
It's always nice that like when a game turns out to be like a nice surprise.
It was a huge surprise, and it's probably one of the nicest surprises after spending full price on a game that I've had in quite some time. But yes. Yeah, moving along, the only other game that I've been playing, I think, this year on the Switch, other than the other games that we talked about, like, you know, Zelda, obviously, earlier this year, I have been playing Minecraft on the Nintendo Switch. I never did play it on the Wii U. I think the Mario world that they've included in there is actually pretty neat. So, yeah, if you're a Minecraft fan, not bad. Not bad.
It's Minecraft. I actually don't have it on Switch, but I do have it on PS4.
Yeah, we have it on like everything now. Like with my son, like we actually forgot that we got him the PS4 version like a year and a half ago for like Christmas or whatever. So at the time though, he was a little too young. He wasn't really kind of grasping like how to do everything at the time. So the game just kind of went away for a while. So, I mean, we had that, but I didn't really realize it. So like earlier this year, I picked up the PC version. So I was playing that, and he wanted to play it on a console, you know, so we could play on the same TV together. And not remembering we had the PS4 version, we bought it for the Switch. So we had that. And he and I also play it on his tablet and my phone. And we kind of wirelessly LAN up together and play in the same world, which is pretty fun.
Now, since you own many versions of this game, with the exception of the PlayStation 4 version, because there was all that hubbub about
PC. PC is the answer.
Do your worlds that you make, like, they don't cross into like the same like save server?
They don't. I think that's actually supposed to be happening though. You know, they're I forget what it's called, the All Together update or something like that. Microsoft are doing. So whether you're playing on like the Xbox or the Windows 10 version on PC, or like tablets or cell phones or whatever, like all that stuff is going to allow you, I believe, to play your world seamlessly from one platform to the next. The only people who are not going to be part of that, from what I understand, I could be wrong. Hopefully I know a little bit about something about this because I should. Won't say any more about that. That'll be news for you guys in the future. But the PC version, the original Java PC version, is sort of going to not be connected with that. But I think a lot of people are going to be okay with that though, because Minecraft, it's, you know, for a lot of people, it's all about the mods, and that's what gives the game so much longevity. And I kind of see that because I've been adding shaders to my game as of late, and it's blowing my mind. Like, to have photorealistic skies and water and lighting and shadows and everything, it's kind of like playing a whole new game again, even though it's the same game.
I might know one or two things about Minecraft mods,
especially shaders.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you know what? Like I still gotta. What is this knocking? Like someone's knocking in the wall. Someone's trapped in my walls. I don't know what to do about that. But
well, it is almost Halloween time, so you might have to get an exorcist and you know, put some crosses on your walls, throw some holy water at it.
That's a lot of money I don't want to spend.
Well, if you don't have holy water, you could always piss in the sink and then bless it and then scoop it out and just start hucking it at the wall.
Maybe I'll just brew holy water from a cauldron with what is it?
With Eye of Newt.
With Eye of Newt and like some redstone and, you know, with some pigs, what is it? Spider eyes. Like.
Yeah. So that's it for a Nintendo Switch for me. I know you mentioned some indie games. Are there any ones in particular that you'd care to mention from that platform?
Really, I've been playing Goner, which came out like last year, I think, on PC, and I don't know if it's on consoles, but Goner is basically like a roguelike, like it's a little platform. I couldn't even tell you the story of the game, but it's like super weird and kind of gothic where um you I'm like distracted by this knocking. Like okay, so death
Somebody's hanging a picture.
probably. So like you just go into like this weird ass like underworld and you try to collect some like relics, I think, or something. You're just trying to get to like this level and like this weird underworld thing. The real selling point is like how like kind of gothic and just weird the visuals look, and it's a roguelike like platforming game. So I have yet to even pass the first world, but it's super good. You have to see the style of it, and it's like a shooter basically in its own way, like a platform shooter with like a quirky gothic aesthetic, and it's just very fun. And it's only like $10 on Switch.
It's called Goner.
Goner, Gonner. There is one more. There is one more game I was playing on Switch, which I guess I talked about a little bit when we were trying to record. I was playing Sonic Mania, which is the 2D.
Oh yeah, that looks so good.
Which is the 2D Sonic the Hedgehog like revival, remix, hybrid, whatever. Not made in-house by Sega, is my understanding. I'm sorry about like Christian something, right?
I don't know. I'm not sure what.
I'm going to eat shit for that one, but Christian Whitehead, right? Who led that? Anyway, the Taxman. Anyway, Sonic Mania. So how do I put this? Because it's getting like very positive. It got a very positive reception. I'm in this weird in between in which I understand why people like Sonic Mania, and I do think it's like a good game objectively, I guess, but I also kind of realized that like I'm not as in love with 2D Sonic as like I thought I would be, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's
a lot of the controls are still probably jank, I assume.
I think I'm just not a fan of like Sonic's momentum when you control him, and I know there's been
you're not actually controlling him when you have momentum, you know?
Yeah, I think the level design in Sonic Mania is very good, and some of the boss fights are actually very creative, and the soundtrack is great. And I actually would probably recommend this game generally to people just to experience it. But I also, just with me, realized that, are you kidding me? Also,
I was just about to say hello to Gus's ghost.
And the boss fights are creative, but like at the same time, just like the act of controlling Sonic, and there's a whole contention. There's like this whole camp of Sonic fans and players where it's just like you're either in the camp who's like, this game is about the depths of exploration, and like, which I can understand because Sonic the Hedgehog is not always like you just hit right and you go from point A to point B. Like there are like layers to a lot of the levels in the game, and then there's the camp, the players that are like, well, why is there all this exploration shit, but I'm supposed to go fast because he's a hedgehog. And with me, it's just like, well, the only reason Sonic even exists is because he is a reaction to Mario, because Sega wanted something edgier than Mario, and that's what they got. Miyamoto was like,
does what Nintendo don't.
Miyamoto was like, oh no, was it Miyamoto? He was just like, oh well, I looked at my landlord and Mario was born. Then Sega was like, well, fuck that plumber, so we're gonna make this edgy ass mascot like for our new home console.
Kind of makes you wonder, like when people are trying to come up with those kinds of ideas, why a hedgehog? Like what's like so edgy about a hedgehog? You know, like it's, oh my god, he's got spikes on his back and he moves really fast. Like hedgehogs don't really move that fast.
No, they move at a normal pace.
It is. It's a very strange.
You know what? Hedgehogs aren't even blue. That's the bigger question.
I mean, if you got a can of spray paint, you can make it happen, I guess. But that's cruelty to animals, and we don't need fucking PETA on our asses. But yeah. Otherwise, so thumbs up, thumbs down.
Thumbs up. thumbs up
Okay.
from me.
Okay.
But like, you know, at the same time, like I'm not the biggest Sonic person. But thumbs up. There
I
you
feel
go.
like a lot of people feel like they're the biggest Sonic person, and then they sit down with a Sonic game for half an hour, and then they're like, "Oh, what? This
I
really
made a
hasn't held
huge
up as well as I
mistake.
thought."
Yeah, thumbs up, and that's it for Switch gaming. I mean, there's something to play for a console where everyone was like, "What the hell is this system's first year going to look like?"
Got no
Man,
fucking games.
I've been playing a lot of Nintendo Switch, a lot.
Same here. I have been playing other things. I've actually gotten back into Overwatch a little bit for the first time in like I don't know a year maybe.
Overwatch, what is Overwatch?
Overwatch. I'm having fun with that again.
Yeah, I haven't played in like two. I think it's been like a month since I last touched it, but I still play it. I mean, that's the thing. I'll still play it. You know, like they've added. I don't know if I did. They added a new character since Doomfist, who was like the Luke Cage looking dude with a giant fist, but he's like a
He
cyborg.
might be the newest one, but I haven't been playing, so I'm not entirely sure. There's a couple of new characters since the last time I played.
Yeah, I have to check out the death match mode. I think it already got added for PlayStation 4.
I think so.
I'm
I think
actually
that
not
was what
sure.
pretty much came right after the Summer Games stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
So
that killed me because like the Summer Game stuff was them trying to like sort of, it was like a mea culpa for people who felt like they got screwed out of the exclusive skins and stuff. The first go around with the Summer Games, and then the last event before that, I think was the anniversary event because it had been a year since the game launched, and then it was but like the loot, the exclusive loot for the anniversary event was like was mathematically like improbable. Like someone actually calculated that like there's no fucking way you can grind all the coins you know to spend on all the exclusive skins and stuff. So Blizzard ate a lot of shit for that. And then the Jeff Kaplan, who like I guess the lead director on Overwatch, like was like, we're gonna fix the RNG on the loot stuff. And they actually did, and yet it's still somehow like I got the skins that
it
I
still
wanted.
seems like a really grind. Like I started playing I think a couple of days before the summer event stuff was over, and there was one skin that I really would have liked to get, mainly because superficial reasons, but I couldn't get anywhere close to the time that I was able to invest in that game those few days to get the skin that I wanted. So
Well, the problem now was that you know they took people complaining about getting so many repeat items that they were like, okay, well we'll fix that and make sure that you know like you don't get as many repeat items. But the problem then became, well, all the new stuff I'm getting is just garbage ass like spray paint things, which is keeping me from getting coins so that I can grind out so I can get this like Mercy skin or whatever the fuck.
and
And
just imagine how few complaints there would be if companies like this would just maybe stop fucking over consumers with this nickel and dime bullshit after they pay full price for a game.
yeah,
That's just me though. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know.
I'm like I've like never been more ashamed of like the amount I've dropped on those loot boxes.
Oh, you spent money on that shit? Shame on you.
Yeah, but I still play.
We all spend money on certain things that we shouldn't. It's it happens. We have to pick and choose our battles.
Yeah, I'm hanging my head in shame on this one. No, I'm like it's just it. I don't want. I almost said it is what it is, but like the way they kind of handled it is super obnoxious. But it seems like they're getting better about it. But like every event comes, people are always going to have something to say, and it's a lot of times it'll be justified in which how they handle the whole RNG stuff on the loot boxes. But
right,
at the same time, like the game has gotten new maps, some of which I don't know if I played. Oh no. They did announce a new map, but I haven't played it yet. I did finally eventually play the Lunar Colony map that came out like a month or two ago. I'm sorry. You know what? I've been monopolizing that. So, what has your Overwatch experience been like? Coming back to it, like for the first time in a while.
One, you don't have to apologize for monopolizing something that you weren't monopolizing. We're here to talk about games. Two, I mean, it just seems like Overwatch to me. It's still fun though, you know.
Yeah.
It's just I was in the mood to get back into that kind of fun, fast paced, you know, kind of shooter, you know, and it was just a lot of fun. So I did have that positive experience with the fun, you know, team based shooty kind of game, but I also decided to kind of go into the hardcore one, Lawbreakers.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna seg right into that.
No, it's fine. You know what? Because there's weird contention about Lawbreakers surrounding that game, and it's actually super confusing to me.
It is,
If only because while I don't know if I'll get the chance to play that game, but
I wouldn't, and I'll tell you why momentarily.
okay. No, I guess it's just the way some people kind of reacted to that game, because like the elephant in the room has been like that game has not been, at least user base wise, hasn't been like doing great.
And
So,
that's an understatement.
yeah.
You know, I picked it up. I bought it online as soon as it came out because the gameplay looked awesome. You know, I kind of have been looking for that Unreal Tournament game of, like, you know, modern times. I know Unreal Tournament's always there to play, but I can't imagine it's got a huge player base anymore. So Cliff Bleszinski, for me, he's got a really good track record as a video game developer. A super long time ago, my very first computer, back when it was Packard Bell, which is a name that nobody hears anymore. And the hard drive was a 200 megabyte hard drive. Okay. Old Windows 3.1 and everything. And sorry for hitting the microphone there, but there was a platform game on there. Most platform games weren't very interesting because, like, I felt like, you know, the running movements were stiff. I felt like the jumping was kind of like, it was kind of slow. But there was a platformer kind of Contra-like game about this character called Jazz the Jackrabbit. And he was this green rabbit and he wore a red bandana, sort of like Rambo, all Rambo'd up. And he just went through the levels, like shooting things. And it was actually fun. It was a lot of fun. It was probably like my favorite game at the time until, you know, Doom came along and I was playing that. The movements in those games felt far more fluid. The action, the soundtrack, everything about it was cool. Now, I didn't know who the developer was at the time. So, like, many years later, once Gears of War came out for the Xbox 360, I put two and two together and I was like, oh, that's who Cliff Bleszinski is. Holy shit. I always liked that Jazz the Jackrabbit game. So, you know, that's kind of cool that he's produced this game now too. So he stuck around for Gears of War 2, 3, not for Judgment. He's not there for Gears of War 4. He's out of all that. For some time now, he's been developing this PC-based shooter, you know, online multiplayer, Unreal Tournament-esque team-based thing called Lawbreakers. And I thought there was some positive buzz about this game, being that, you know, hey, it's Cliff Bleszinski and he's coming back and he's making a game for the PC and it's not going to even be a $60 game and blah, blah, blah. So the game came out, I bought it, and it's a lot of fun. I really loved playing this game. It is kind of a mashup, I guess, for better or worse. Unreal Tournament meets Overwatch, because the team-based thing, it's like you have different classes of characters that you can choose, you know. So you have like your heavies and you have your ninja-like assassin kind of characters and healers and so on and so forth. But what's different about it is that the pace of this game is a lot faster than it is in Overwatch. The game modes are different than they are in Overwatch. They're more like, oh, get the game ball in the middle of the map and then bring it to the goal before the other team, you know, they have to kill you before you can get it there. And there's also, you know, like there's three different points on the map. The first team to get 2 of the 3 places on the map, like, overtaken successfully, they win that round, and you have to get so many points before like one team is declared a winner. Whatever, it's really fun. Like, there's a Blitzball, and the ball is actually voiced by the guy who does the voice for Morty and Rick and Morty. So like, that's kind of fun. It's a really fun game. But yeah, I think when the game was out, I think after a little bit, there was like 1,500 players. And immediately people were asking Cliff Bleszinski, like, does that concern you? Are you worried about that? He's like, no, like, I'd rather start off small and over the course of time get like a loyal player base that's going to stick around and play the game and actually kind of build up to that. Like, so I'm not really too concerned because we made a solid game. Well, over the course of time, I started getting a little frustrated myself because for whatever reason, this contention that you're talking about in regards to this game, it started affecting like the way that matchmaking was working, because it started to get difficult to get into full games. And of course, there are always people who jump in the lobby and they see that it's not a full game, so they jump out of the lobby. So it takes forever for a match to get started. And then sometimes what happens is like they leave at a point like right before that a match is supposed to start. So then there's like unbalanced teams. And that was enough after a while to drive me away from the game, even though that I have a blast with it. So this has been happening, I think, a lot with a lot of people, even if they enjoy the game. Like, they're getting turned off by this shit. It's an unpleasant experience, no matter what way you cut it. I was on Twitter myself saying, guys, please play this game. It's so much fun. But it wasn't happening. And I was checking the peak numbers on a day-to-day basis. And, like, I saw it go from, like, 1,500 to 900 to 700 for a couple of weeks to 400. And I think I just saw a news story the other day that said that the peak number of players one day very recently was 50 on the PC. Like, that's fucking abysmal. That's terrible. So as far as you considering maybe getting into that game, unless they do something, now's not the time. And I don't know what they're going to do about it, because obviously the game's out there. Now you have all this negative word of mouth about it as a result of this. But on the other hand, this game had like zero marketing. You know, it wasn't in magazine ads. There weren't commercials on TV. I think there was just some trailers on like YouTube, basically, but that was about it. Unless they do like a big marketing push, maybe that can revive it. But there's a lot of people speculating that it's probably not going to happen for some time, because I do expect Cliff and his team and the publisher of this game to probably try some things out. And it sounds like right now they're banking more on like content that they're going to be pushing out to the game for free, because that was their plan, that they weren't going to like season pass the shit out of you. You know, they'd have a loot box system again, sort of similar to Overwatch.
I'm looking up like the patch note, because apparently it got a recent patch, right?
Yeah.
1.3, and it's about, and apparently that patch had a problem, something about weapon stickers, but it's supposed to add like a new map variant and new features and stuff.
And I haven't seen it because I don't have the time to waste on that, you know, waiting in a lobby for like 10 minutes to get a game going sort of thing anymore. And it's a real shame. As I said, it's a real fun game, but like a lot of people are speculating that push comes to shove, they're probably going to have to make this a free-to-play sort of game and then just rely on microtransactions. And I feel really bad, because I feel like part of the contention is that Overwatch came out before this game. And it's not so much that Overwatch came out before this game, but it's because there are similarities with the team-based stuff and the loot boxes and everything.
It's just crazy to have like a peak of like 50 people.
It's insane. It's really, really bad.
It's because it almost sounds like Evolve, like all over again.
It like, kind of does, except it wasn't like a turnoff by like these really terrible business models. You know, it was just. But I think part of me. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that part of me wondered, like, it can't just be like, because Cliff Bleszinski is like a pretty, he can be a controversial figure in some sorts, and the dude has like said some pretty like, you know, stupid shit, but like it didn't seem like enough, at least, to like completely just tank an entire like major release of like the guy that created Gears of War, right? And I guess I just gotta wonder like how it's just kind of crazy that
a lot of what people are saying is that it's like the characters, like there's nothing about these characters that you can really latch onto. Like for some reason, the personalities, the characters that you play as in Overwatch, like there's something about them that you like about them. You know, they have their own sort of personalities. They seem like real characters to you, where like everybody that you're playing as in Lawbreakers just seems really bland in comparison. But is that enough if the game is actually fun to play? One thing I forgot to mention about the gameplay too is that actually in the middle of all these levels is actually once you get into the middle of things, there's an anti-gravity area. So that's a big difference too. So everybody's kind of floating around in the middle, firing off at each other, and it gets to be like quite the war zone. It's a blast. I mean, it's an idea that hasn't really been done before for a game like this. It's fantastic. But yeah, like a lot of people attribute that sort of blandness to Lawbreakers being part of the reason why they stepped away. But I think it's just probably because they're like, well, Overwatch is out and Overwatch did it better. But the sad thing about that is that Lawbreakers was in development before Overwatch.
Yeah, and I guess what it sounds like also is that because Overwatch, Blizzard, like, you know how much Blizzard loves lore, like with their games, and like,
oh yeah,
and Blizzard just has gone kind of crazy. They've gone crazy. Like, I don't mean that in a negative way, but they have really gone out of their way to establish lore for each individual characters, not just through like the game, but like with their animated shorts. And you're never not going to get someone who's like turned off by like the Pixar-esque like look that those animated shorts have gotten, and like the free comics that kind of delve into that. And I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't know if they did that kind of, if Lawbreakers has that kind of level of lore or even like that attempt. But I wonder if like maybe that's, if you're not drawing like the audience in with like that kind of lore, like if he had taken like the Gears lore maybe and somehow spun that into like what Lawbreakers is, like I wonder if like there would be more players attached. And really overall, like what I think is also what might also be another issue is that really like the biggest hotness right now on PC is PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. So
10 million players with over 1 million peak players, like at height. Yeah, for PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds.
Yeah, which I have not played.
Players during the peak hours for that game. That is for a game that's still in early access, mind you. That's fucking insane.
Oh yeah,
that's crazy. But yeah, Lawbreakers, real sad. Yeah. I mean, I hope they do something about it, but I'm pretty much writing it off at this point. So moving away from games, we'll get into some topical stuff now, because we've been at this for a while and we got a ways to go. I haven't prepared you for this, but Bethesda's not pay mods thing has popped up. Have you been following that at all?
Briefly, where they had like, they were essentially paid mods, but they were calling it something else.
They were calling it the Creation Club. And the important thing to note about this is that like in 2015, like Valve had approached Bethesda and basically said, you know, we were thinking about implementing this thing to make it really easy for people to implement mods in the games that they play through Steam. So we were thinking of doing like a paid mods sort of thing. Would you be interested in being a part of that? And Bethesda were like, yeah, of course we would. Ka-ching. So they announced this thing, and like they had to call it quits after a week because like the backlash was just so intense from the community out there that they were like, okay, we hear you. You don't want this. Let's back away. So here they are now, you know, just the other month, they're saying, all right, we're going to introduce the Creation Club. Don't worry, everybody. They're not paid mods. Well, the Creation Club, the way that it's set up is you use real world money to buy Creation Club currency so that you could obtain mods. So you're spending money for mods. You're buying mods. They're paid mods. Like, you know, it's like, I don't like Pete Hines. He's got his head so far up his ass. Like, I don't know how he can spin that any other way, but he came up with a way. He did come up with a way. He said, well, number one, there's still going to be free mods. Like, it's going to be a free and open system. I got the quote here, actually. It's from their FAQ, I think, on their website. Is Creation Club paid mods? No. Mods will remain a free and open system where anyone can create and share what they like. Also, we won't allow any existing mods to be retrofitted into Creation Club. It must all be original content. Most of the Creation Club content is created internally, some with external partners who have worked on our games, and some by external creators. All the content is then approved curated and taken through the full internal dev cycle, including localization, polishing, and testing. This also guarantees that all content works together. He said, we've looked at many ways to do paid mods, and the problems just outweigh the benefits. We've encountered many of those issues before. So his point is, he basically came out and said, Pete Hines, it's not paid mods. What this is basically us outsourcing for like mini DLC, where that external source could be you if you're a modder and you know what you're doing, but like.
So wait, can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Walk me back on this.
Okay.
I have money, right?
Yep.
I need this money to pay to buy, what is it? Creation Club points?
Yeah, they're like Creation Club points or coins or something like that.
And I use these coins, these magical non-existent coins, to download the mods.
Yep.
These are paid mods.
These are paid mods. Like,
but and the funny thing is, as you were going into that, I was looking up the Creation Club stuff, like any news related to it. And my favorite one is from PC Gamer, where the headline is, a mod that removes Creation Club news from Fallout 4's main menu is the second most voted for mod this month and has been downloaded over 9,000 times.
And here's part of the reason why that mod is so popular. It's not just because people are against Creation Club because whatever, because normally if there's like a store menu or something on a game that you buy, what are you going to do if you don't want to buy that shit? You're just not going to go in there. However, this just gets better and better. The thing with the Creation Club is that on PC, on PS4, Fallout 4, the Skyrim Special Edition, they just had an update recently. And with that update, you're automatically downloading all the Creation Club content.
Oh, Jesus. So did they sneak it in, or do they explicitly tell you?
No, it's just for a lot of people, when you boot up Steam, it's like most people have like their game set up to update automatically.
That's like how like one of the Windows 10 updates like snuck in some like, no, I don't know if it's technically spyware or like adware nonsense.
And there's no real reason why they would do this that anybody can actually think of. And the only theory that's out there that makes sense is that there's certain restrictions for this kind of a thing on Sony stuff. So on the PlayStation 4, maybe what they're doing is they're skirting around that by like integrating it into the game through a game patch. Like, but as this Creation Club program grows and grows and there's more and more content, like, motherfucker, solid state drives don't grow on trees, you know? It's like, yeah. You know, who needs to have their hard drive space taken up by that nonsense? And another interesting wrinkle about this whole Creation Club thing is that they're saying, well, you know, there's still going to be free mods and that's fine. But the fact of the matter is the Creation Club has actually been fucking with a lot of people's freely obtained mods. It's been breaking them, you know? And it's like, for example, like in Skyrim now or Fallout, maybe both, you have to have a specific mod load order. Otherwise, your game's not going to load correctly. Or if it does, it's highly probable that you're going to experience glitches in game, or probably it's going to crash at some point and make your game unplayable. For some reason now, the Creation Club forces all of the mods in your list to be loaded alphabetically. So that doesn't work anymore. Also, somebody had downloaded one of the new Pip-Boy skins through the Creation Club, and they noticed that all of their mods wouldn't work as long as the Pip-Boy mod was running. So, like, if you want to use the new Pip-Boy mod, you can't have other mods running with it. I want to assume that this is just like early release, you know, jank for this program, and that Bethesda can't be so stupid as to say, oh no, free mods are totally cool, and then intentionally break people's mods. You know, I'm pretty sure that the alphabetical load order thing for mods in those games has to be a bug and that they're looking into it. But wow, like, you know, what I think is probably the worst part about this whole thing isn't, you know, the automatic downloads of this stuff or whatever. It's the lip service. It's them introducing paid mods and then saying it's not paid mods, it's mini DLC because we're outsourcing. Like, fuck yourself. like how can you lie to people's faces that bad and smile and expect them to eat that shit? I think it's really disrespectful to gamers and you know, their fan base and everything, because like people aren't that stupid, but they're kind of just assuming that we are.
And it certainly seems like
I think it's terrible.
The backlash is there. I mean,
and for plenty of good reason, as we see.
It doesn't seem like people particularly even like the Creation Club thing. So I don't know why they. I understand why.
Right, because mods have been free on the internet forever. And not only that, but the shit on the Creation Club is the boringest, blandest shit. All the free mods that are out there on the internet for free are way better than the stuff in the Creation Club by far.
And the funny thing is, it's like there's always been a discussion about like, should modders get paid? And you know, like if I think about that, like I actually have no issue where like a modder is like, I'm going to charge for this, but I'd rather like support the modder and not have to go through this like nonsense fucking channel.
And smartly, modders out there, they're on the same page as you with that. They do not charge for their mods. Their mods are freely available. However, if you like their work, they have Patreons.
Yeah.
You know,
it's so like I would rather just say, hey, modder, that you made this thing I liked. Here's like $5 on Patreon. And I don't have to fucking skirt around with this Creation Club like nonsense so that Bethesda gets a cut to not make Elder Scrolls 6.
You know what I would pay $5 for? I would pay $5 to see Dean Takahashi play way more games that are difficult.
Oh man, I stayed away from that whole thing. Like I have only a brief knowledge of the entire the story, but this seems like one of those moments where it's just like.
Did you watch the video?
Not the whole thing, but
did you watch the beginning, the very beginning of the tutorial, like the first 2-3 minutes?
I did.
I mean, this guy has. All right, I'm gonna pack up a second here. All right, so
there's a game called Cuphead. If you didn't know, it's one of 2 Microsoft Xbox games coming out this year.
Right, and it's already infamously known for all of its release coverage for being a difficult platformer. And the thing about Cuphead, though, is also, what is that? Were you like hitting yourself?
I was like rubbing my eye. I'm like rubbing my eyes
because I heard a distinct thwap, and you were like, "Ow!" That's
how I rub my eyes. I punched them repeatedly.
So anyway,
that's how hard Cuphead is. Like I get hurt.
It's so hard you want to punch yourself in the eye because the pain that you feel in real life is better than the pain you feel while playing this game. Apparently,
yes. So
good.
Cuphead.
So anyway, I can't stop laughing. Anyway, so Cuphead. Yeah, despite the fact that it's difficult, for a very long time there's been this conversation online about like. Especially because like that Polygon video where that reporter was playing Doom
video.
Yeah. Ever since then, like, you know, like morons on the internet, which happens to be quite a lot of people, apparently, they seem to lump every single video game journalist out there under the same blanket. You know, they just throw a blanket statement over the whole thing and say, video game journalists are terrible at video games. They should all be fired. And it's like, you're way out of base here. But there are people like Dean Takahashi, a journalist with VentureBeat, who comes along, and he sure doesn't seem like a gamer. And this is the guy, by the way, who's been doing this for a super, super long time. Like he's been doing like tech coverage for like 25 years or something like that. He's been like, you know, doing video game related journalism or console related journalism for like the last 17 or 18 years. And he has footage of himself playing Cuphead, and it's the very beginning tutorial of the game. And not just the level, but I mean the tutorial. Like, push this button to jump.
Yeah,
push this button to fire. And like, he comes to this in the first couple of minutes, he comes to this portion where it's like there's a small platform that he's meant to jump over, and then there's a higher platform in front of that,
Yeah, so
and he
it's not
can't
like
jump over it.
yeah, so it's not like you know, in certain tutorials, like they'll tell you do this. Okay, now we're gonna do that. The tutorial for Cuphead seems to lead you from basic here jump, and then now jump like double jump onto this platform, and then now shoot this thing. Like it leads
Yeah.
one into the other. Like
And in this specific example at the beginning of the video, he was supposed to jump on the smaller platform and then jump and then push a dash button to dash in the air to reach the
yeah.
higher platform. But like he kept jumping against the high platform wall over and over and over and over and over. And for like 2 minutes, he was stuck on this thing. 2 fucking minutes. And it never occurred to him to like, oh, maybe I should go to this other platform I can reach and then jump from there. And on Twitter, people asked him like legitimately, like, I'm not trying to be rude, Dean, but like, why did it take you 2 minutes to figure that out? Like, it seems like a child's play. And his exact quote was, it didn't say stand on rock, which is further away, because dash will take you higher and farther than you can jump. What? Like, look, I wrote a thing about this on bitesizedimpressions.com. Like, you could argue that he was just stupid nervous because this footage was him at Gamescom, so it stands to reason that like the developer of the game was like probably standing over his shoulder. But like,
I can understand that because I have like a couple of years ago, for a website, and the articles are still up. I got asked to go to a Square Enix event in New York to play some stuff that they were like about to release. At the time, it was actually Life is Strange wasn't playable, but you know the developers were there. The people from Don't Nod, like talking about the story and stuff. But the playable stuff was like Final Fantasy Type 0 HD and like Lara Croft, the isometric Lara Croft game, the co-op one, the sequel to that, Osiris, I think it was called. And it's just like they were like fun to play, and it was cool because it was like my first like ever like preview event of like ever doing anything like that. And at the same time, like I'm sure like you're both like you like hypothetically in that scenario, like you testing this game out that you have to write about, and like the rep that's there, or even the developer that's there. And I don't mean to hijack again, but like I'm sure you're both kind of like in this weird feeling of uneasiness, despite it's just a game and we're all having a good time and all that. But I can understand like it having like some effect on like how you play, and especially for people who like some people who are starting to stream, and they might, and you know like an audience is there, and maybe like that some still hinders them somehow. I'm sorry, but keep going. But I'm just saying that I can understand where.
Right, I would totally want to give him the benefit of doubt, but like that footage is embarrassing. Like you don't know enough to go to slightly shorter platform that you can reach to jump to the higher platform that you will then be able to reach. And like I know that a lot of like criticism online only focuses on that moment in the first couple of minutes, but like the entire 26-minute video is a complete fucking mind job. Like he does get a little better, but throughout the entirety of that video, he's doing things that like you would never do while playing a difficult Contra-like shooter, because this level is a shooty level, you know? I think it's just called like run and shoot or run and gun or something like that. So throughout the rest of the stage, like as he's maneuvering through enemies and trying to shoot them down, like, he runs straight into them. He leaps
that's as far as I got, where he kept like the enemies wouldn't stop spawning, I guess, until he kept moving like forward more in the stage, right? But they just kept spawning, but he kept like missing them or jumping like into them, and then he had eventually died, and that's where I stopped watching.
And he even had a spray gun. Like it's not like he had to be precise, and he even looked like he had a lot of trouble throughout those 26 minutes just like aiming the spray gun. Like, has this guy never played a video game since the original NES? I mean, these are game mechanics that have been around since like the fucking dawn of time. Not Atari, but you know, at least as far as like the Nintendo Entertainment System forward is
since
concerned.
The Paleolithic era, like literally.
Yeah, like Jesus. And he's even like he was defending himself on Twitter in like hilarious ways. Like he responded to someone by saying, "Oh, sure, spoken by someone who hasn't played yet. Do me a favor and capture your first honest 26 minutes." So on my website, I threw down and I said, "I'll tell you what, Dean, when I get my Xbox One X later this year, I'll do just that. I'll stream my first 26 minutes, and I guarantee I'll take way less time than you." So at least for that first tutorial stage. I mean, you know, but the main takeaway from all this isn't just busting on Dean Takahashi and how fucked up that is, but I think video gamers out there need to do better with their response to stuff like this.
It seemed like he had a sense of humor about it, at least.
Yeah, he did. Like
that was the point that they posted it because they knew it was bad, like footage, and they were like, "Oh, we think this will be funny, so let's post it."
The thing that doesn't support that though is that they changed the name of the article after like the negative reactions started coming in now.
I didn't know that. Like, I didn't know that's as far.
Yeah, I forget what the headline was before, but it was something like, you know, Cuphead is hard or something, but then they changed it to make it more of a joke. So I don't know if I completely buy that.
Okay.
But, you know,
like a mommy dearest effect.
Yeah, basically. But I saw one quote on Twitter which kind of sums up what the general response has been from a lot of people online. And the quote was, "Game journalists are incredibly bad at video games. It's painful to watch this. How do they think they're qualified to write about games?" Again, it's that my main takeaway from this, and the thing that I really want to put out there, is that message that, guys, like, that blanket statement shit is crazy. Like, there's a lot of video game journalists who stream, who post good video game footage. Even Dean Takahashi has video game footage out there that like makes it seem like he knows what he's doing, like Call of Duty.
I watched the Waypoint. I watched Austin Walker and Patrick Klepek on Waypoint, and they fucking got a chicken dinner, man, at public battlegrounds.
Yep, like a lot of video game journalists are really good at what they do.
But also, I don't know that a lot of people also seem to. I don't know how many gamers like really know too the circumstances in which like journalists review games, because it's not always they just give you the disc, the review disc, and they plop down. Like, they get notes and stuff too sometimes.
Yeah, they get notes. Hey, talk about this. Don't talk about this, or, you know, because this part of the game isn't done yet, blah, blah, blah. They have very specific things. You can't show this part of the game until after such and such date, such and such time. And then also, you know, journalists, again, like, you know, GamesCon are very specifically these review events for games. Like, they'll want a journalist to go to a hotel and sit in a hotel for 2 or 3 days and literally do nothing but like go down to this like blocked off gaming area where they have these little booths set up, and you're just supposed to sit there day and night and play this game for 2 or 3 days straight, and then leave and then write a review about it before it comes out. And like, you know, they pay for drinks and food and stuff like that, but it's not a fun experience to leave your home, to get on a plane, to fly halfway across the country, to, you know, be forced to sit down and play the same game for so long, for 3 days, you know. So yeah, I mean, there's stuff that happens, but like, the blanket statements can't be there, you know. And I think the conversation that's been going on, not just now, and it's even been before, I think, the Polygon Doom video, the conversation is like, you know, you have to be really good at video games if you're going to write about video game journalism. And my stance on that is I don't think that's entirely true. You don't have to be an expert at gaming. Okay. I just think instead of being a really good gamer, you have to be a seasoned gamer to be able to accurately write about video games. You know, you have to have played a variety of different kinds of games at different varying degrees of difficulty. At the very least, you have to be able to pick up a controller and say, I can jump on this one platform to jump to the higher platform, which Dean Takahashi couldn't do. And even though he himself has video footage out there of him playing games that's actually good, he's also done some other fucked up shit in the past. Like he wrote something up, or he did a video with Mass Effect where he said that the game was way too hard. But that's because he tried playing through the game and didn't realize he could actually like level up through the game.
That's right. So, I think I read something about that.
So he wasn't attributing any of the stuff that he was earning through the game to his character. So of course, you know, it's like, does this guy like play games at all? In those cases, I think somebody like Dean Takahashi maybe should kind of step away from talking about video games at all. I mean, you know, I don't like to say that about anybody because it's kind of a harsh move, and I don't want to feed into that blanket statement bullshit of like journalists are bad at games. But clearly, it's on a case by case basis, and 98% of the time, I think it's fine. This you have to be like, you know, you have to get good Dark Souls style in order to review games. I think it's bullshit. So video gamers out there, you guys have to do better. This is not, it's not an appropriate response to this thing, but this Dean Takahashi shit was actually pretty funny. But
it was funny. And like, I could understand too. And I understand the one side of it where like, cause I watch a lot of Giant Bomb stuff and they'll play games, you know, in ways in which something that's like, they'll look for a solution to a problem in a game and it could be right in front of their faces and they won't see it, and that's like frustrating, but it's not like serious enough in which like you go on a fucking rant about how game journalists like should just hang it up because they didn't go through a goddamn training camp of fucking video games.
Right. It's absurd.
And you know, like if anything too, I feel like if you know, if you're gonna a journalist or whoever, or like a seasoned professional who's going to cover games should at least like first and foremost, just be honest about the coverage they're giving to a game. Like, be honest about like their experiences, about what the game does right for them, what it doesn't do right for them. Like, get your own perspective in there, and then think about the many people who are going to play the game and
Right.
how they might feel about it. Which is why, like, that's why everyone always kind of looks down and makes fun of that phrase, "fans of the genre." Like,
if only Dean Takahashi, like, you know, made a little disclaimer before the video that said, I was high on LSD while I was playing this game the whole time, then maybe we could give him a pass. But,
yeah,
you know.
But also, like, it doesn't, I don't, even if he was bad and it's like, dude, you at least, like, if you wanted to say to him, hey, you should at least read the instructions or figure it out better next time. But, like, some, you know, those people out there that, like, really give people shit to the point of harassment, like that shit is not cool. Because I've seen that from people, like this legitimate anger and rage that people form because like someone is screwing up is like, chill out.
I think it's I've heard Joe Rogan refer it as this repeatedly, and it's the perfect description. It's recreational outrage. That's what we've got all over the internet these days. This connectivity that we have with everyone and everything, and being able to be behind a keyboard and be able to say whatever we want without seeing what people's reactions are, how they're being affected. It's easy to get online and just kind of feign this recreational outrage, you know, every single day. It's like everybody always has to have something to be upset about. We've talked about this on the podcast a long time ago, but it comes down to that, like, that sort of dopamine rush that you sort of get when you kind of feel justified by something, when you kind of feel like, hey, I'm putting my opinion out there because I'm right, you know, I'm going to make you believe that I'm right. You get that, you get this sort of psychological sort of tick, like, that feels satisfying to do, you know. And it's kind of like a drug. Like, everybody has, like, they can't help themselves. Like, innocent conversations all the time just turn into these battles back and forth because people don't know how to have a civilized conversation anymore.
That's why, like, I make an effort to, like, sometimes I will be on my laptop almost all day doing whatever, and like I ends up also, it also means like I'm on Twitter a lot, and then when I start to notice that I start having a response to fucking everything, that's when I'm like, I need to chill out and turn this off and walk away for a bit. And just like chill, man. And that's what everyone should do for it. Like, just everyone should take like take like 2 hours. Just like turn your phone off, turn your laptop off, and just chill for 2 hours, and then come back a little more refreshed.
So you can play awesome games like Destiny 2.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not playing Destiny 2.
You know, I'm a masochist and I'm not going to buy it anytime soon. And I don't know if I ever even will, but like, I'm curious to see how much it might have changed since the first game. But like, we all know, if you've,
Like
I
you play.
did. I had the game at launch, and I thought it was an empty, hollow shell of a game. We talked about this a long time ago.
I did play like the one of the betas, but like I never bought it, and then I kept looking at the Taken King like edition, and nope, I was like no, because I have other games that I want to waste
Yeah.
hours on.
Well, I'm even less inclined to buy Destiny 2 anytime soon because there's been this controversy about the game that it has pay to win content in it. The thing is that there's a couple of things that's going on with Destiny 2 that's kind of bullshit. I mean, it is a full price $60 game. And I think with this game, what Bungie and Activision would want to do is they'd like to capitalize on a lot of goodwill. They need to get people interested in Destiny again. I mean, sure, Destiny was a smash success, and there are people who still play the first game to this day who think it's the best game ever, and they've dumped hundreds and hundreds of hours into that game. That's fine. However, Destiny did also lose a lot of people because it was an empty, hollow shell of a game that didn't have a story, that didn't have anything going on with your character, that literally provided nothing except the same gameplay for the grind over and over and over and over and over again. So Destiny 2, you'd think that they'd really want to toe the line and really provide something rather meaty, but like they're still pulling this microtransaction-y sort of bullshit. So the two things are, first, I'll talk about the lesser offense. I believe it's the shaders. Shaders in Destiny world is basically like the way that your armor gets colored. In the first game, you were able to take a shader and apply it to your whole armor set and swap it out whenever you got new armor. So like it was like you had the shader, you had it for good. For Destiny 2, they decided that the shaders now were going to be one-time use consumables. And of course, you can get these shaders through like loot boxes, I think. And you can buy those. They're microtransaction-y sort of things. And a lot of people's response to stuff like this, not just with Destiny 2, but with any sort of game, is like, well, you know what? If it's just cosmetic, who cares? It doesn't affect the actual game or the way that it's developed, but it does. It really, really does. And that's something that I personally want to convey to anybody who's listening to this show, because, personally, I know some people are different. They just want something that they can spend $60 on, and it's going to last them for hundreds and hundreds of hours because they don't have a lot of money to spend on, video games. So they want something that they can just latch onto and have them go for a ride for a really long time with it. But personally, I would rather have a good 5, 8, or 10-hour game that's solid all the way through than a 30-hour game that has 15 hours of solid content, but then like 15 hours of grind. And it seems like when they introduce microtransactions for something like shaders in a game like this, what they're doing is they're artificially inflating the gameplay time for the purpose of the grind. And it's done so much these days that the word grind is now synonymous with content, which to me is kind of sickening. It's like, why? And they want to try and assure us that they're not doing this for financial reasons, but like the shader system in the first game wasn't broke, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it isn't a motto that the business world ever really uses. What it is that worked out for us the first time. How could we make that even financially better for us the next time around? And obviously, everybody's calling out Bungie and Activision for that very reason. It's like there's no reason why you change the shader system except to make it microtransaction-y enough to make people spend money. And they're like, but you could earn it in game. Sure, but you have to grind and grind and grind and grind in order to get it. So it's like, that's the thing with these microtransaction-y systems that are, I think it all boils down to being really terrible in the respect that developers have a really hard job because they have to make the game really fun so that the grind is something that you can endure, but they have to make it just boring enough so that you'll want to spend money in order to skip some of that grind. Like, that's not a good way to develop a game. When you develop a game with that kind of microtransaction in mind on purpose, like, you're doing a disservice to the game, to the content of the game, to the fun of the game, and also to, you're doing a disservice to the people who are spending good money to play your game in the first place. So I
This
rambled on for a long time though. So let's hear your thoughts and opinions on this for a while.
this sounds a lot like you could have been talking about The Division. Remember that game?
Yeah, very, very true.
Because The Division is the game I can only go on in terms of knowing about the grind for the loots. And I think about how like people complained about first they complained about how all the good stuff was relegated to the dark zone. I'm not taking away from Destiny. This is the only way I can put this into perspective. People were complaining that it was only all the good stuff was only in the dark zone, which is the PvP area of the Division, which is a cool concept, but then the dark zone became broken, so they tried to fix it where you could get decent stuff in the PvE area of the Division, so anywhere where you didn't have to be in the dark zone. But then anytime something fun was going on in the Division, Ubisoft or the development, what were they, Ubisoft, like Montpellier or whatever, they patched it, that they nerfed anything fun in that game that people were enjoying doing in order to try to make like other aspects of the grind like fun, I guess, but it ended up not being fun for anybody, and then you didn't really deliver on the expansion, so people left. So I understand, like how fucking frustrating it can be if you're just shooting and looting, like grinding away to get an accessory, and you said, and the shaders are consumable, is my understanding.
Yep.
So that means you have to fucking go even further just to get the stuff that you want. Like you have to put more time into that, which like,
and like Bungie's justification for that is like they want you to say, oh, hey, I want to go revisit that area in order to get the shaders that are exclusive to that area in the game because they're really cool.
And I get that in some respects, but also at the same time, that does not sound like much. That doesn't sound like you're respecting my time either.
It doesn't sound like they're respecting your time. It just doesn't sound like good game design. Like, I mean, there are obviously plenty of gamers out there who are perfectly content spending.
Yeah, because a lot of people are more than happy to do it because, from what I constantly hear, the shooting in Destiny, or at least the act of it, is like, it feels so good, like feels good enough that like they don't mind. And some players,
and it did feel really good in the first game. I can vouch for that. Bungie knows how to get shooting right.
And in that way, that's fine. But at the same time, there's always going to be that segment of the base too that feels like their time isn't being respected because they might be looking for something else from Destiny.
Right.
But now, now that I'm thinking about this though, and yet I'm still like, I wonder if down the line, after they put out their first big expansion, like maybe I take a look at Destiny.
Yeah, I mean, like curiosity, in my respect, usually kills the cat. Like I don't want to get sucked into it though, because like I now that it's been out for like a little over a week, there's a lot of people that are saying, hey, yeah, the game is really fun, but like after a while it just becomes like a grind again, and it's kind of boring. So that kind of sounds exactly like my experience with the first game. I had fun for like 15 hours, I played through the campaign and I did a lot of online stuff, but then like it was just like, well, this is really dull. I didn't have fun with it anymore, and it was because like the game had nothing else going on for it. And it seems like people are saying that the campaign is a lot better this time around. But like again, they encourage you to grind because it's all about getting to the higher levels and whatever. But yeah, I don't think there's so many other games that I want to play, and more games even still that are coming out later this year. Like I really want to play the new South Park game, and I really want Super Mario Odyssey, and I still want to play that Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice game because the mental disorder aspect of that game intrigues me. So
yeah, like supposedly they actually got like, I don't know if they were specialists or psychologists or like experts on like mental health to try and like portray that in a way that's not just saying people with mental health are crazy and they see things, but
Right.
try to make it an understandable concept for the story.
Yeah, like the character in that game like legit sees things, you know, like psychosis,
Yeah.
which is not so relatable. Like but like, yeah, the mental health aspect of the game does intrigue me because I do battle with anxiety. I do battle with depression from time to time. So, you know, it does interest me to see how like a video game is actually like going to such lengths to actually try and convey some other mental disorder. So yeah, I want to play that. But anyway, back to Destiny. Like I probably won't play it because there's too many other games that I want to play and will want to play. But the other aspect of the Destiny stuff that's going on, before I forget, is the whole pay to win side of it. There's bright engrams in the game, and what they are is those are the things in the game that are essentially loot boxes. And these loot boxes could include mods for your armor or your weapons. Now these mods, they give you additional abilities such as like increasing the recharge rate of like things that you might need in combat, like faster mobility, quicker reloads, better weapon handling, stuff like that. And these can all be earned in game, but again, you can purchase bright engrams. So that's leading this whole debate about the pay to win stuff. And I've seen like major news websites reporting on this saying, yeah, there's pay to win shit. And I've seen other ones, I think even Polygon, saying no, Destiny 2 is not pay to win.
I
But
just opened the Polygon one.
yeah, so okay, I was right about that. So but basically the way that I see it, if you can spend money to get something which gives you an advantage over somebody else in a multiplayer game, which this is, because there is a PvP component to Destiny as well, then that's paying to win. That's a pay to win mechanic. Like it's bullshit. You know, like if it's going to take me 5 hours of grinding in order to get this thing and you can get it in 2 minutes just by whipping out your credit card and punching in your information, that's not fair. Like why should I be punished because I want to play the game instead of pay to skip that grind, which is that awful word again, which is synonymous again with content for some reason. So yeah, those are my beefs with Destiny right now, and they're the same beefs that a lot of people have with the game right now. But apparently, it's still doing really well, from what I understand, which I'm not surprised with. But unless you have anything else to add, we'll move on to our last big topic of the show.
There is, well, not, I don't have anything to add about Destiny, but since we have one topic left, well, there are two topics I think we should talk about before that.
Sure.
One, though we were talking about Switch earlier, there was in fact a Nintendo Direct today.
Oh, isn't it? Did it happen, or is it not till later?
It happened.
Oh, I thought for some reason I thought it was like 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm fucked up.
It happened a couple of hours ago.
I got to pull up IGN and see what the news is.
So they had the Nintendo Direct. It was about 45 minutes long. It was, a lot of it was like stuff that's already kind of known. You know, they had new trailers for Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and Fire Emblem Warriors. Like they went through all the stuff for 3DS, a lot of Kirby stuff, and there's a new there are like 8 new 2DS models coming out. The big news, actually, well, arguably big news, is that Doom and Wolfenstein 2 are coming to Switch.
I'm looking at that right now. What the hell?
Doom, yeah, Bethesda announced that Doom, the campaign, and I actually just saw, I only saw the topic on NeoGAF just now, but supposedly Doom, the campaign, will be on the cartridge, but you can download the multiplayer is optional, like an optional.
Yeah, there's no need for that.
But
dude, having that Doom game on the go is actually kind of exciting.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
And the new Wolfenstein game, which was kind of surprising.
It is surprising. Like, I'm wondering how much fidelity is lost playing that on the Switch compared to the other systems.
I really would like to see like what that looks like on Switch.
I'm sure, like right around launch time, like Digital Foundry will be probably putting out some comparison videos comparing that to the other versions. So, oh, but wait a minute, Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus doesn't come to the Switch until 2018. Aha.
Okay.
Okay, okay. But Doom is coming this holiday season. So, damn. Like I have the game on PC, but like I'm actually kind of
The idea of
kind of
having it on
tempted.
a handheld is like very tempting to double dip.
It is. Again though, I want to see what like the performance is like because I mean the game looks, but it's also one of those games that does scale incredibly well like for all sorts of different hardware. Like relatively speaking, like you don't need as powerful hardware as you'd think in order to make that game look and run great. So it's
Okay.
theoretically possible to have a great looking Doom on the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, and I don't mean to disparage from like anyone listening, like, and I'm just glossing over the Nintendo stuff. It's just like that felt like a major announcement that like right at a left field because then they were talking about Skyrim, and they were again like the whole like Zelda Tunic thing with the amiibos and whatever, and there was so they covered 3DS stuff. There seems to be like a lot of 3DS stuff still coming out, Kirby
I
stuff.
want that fucking Metroid game that's coming out later this month.
I actually put a pre-order in for that the other day.
Nice. It looks
They
good.
they had more Pokemon Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon like stuff. Yeah, like without like going into too big a rant, like I bought Pokemon Moon. I was into it, but then I kind of stopped playing, and then I picked up again, and then I traded it in, and then I managed to get Pokemon Sun cheap, and then I tried again, and I was liking it, but I
It's like the same game. Why would you why would you
who
trade
knows?
it in and then buy it again?
See, I don't know, maybe
I
something
wanted to see everything but at night.
exactly. And I just traded in. I was just like, just put a order for Metroid, please, and anyway, so Switch, it's like they have a demo for I don't know if you remember when they first announced the Switch, the video from like January, when they opened the pre-orders like the next day. And one of the games that they had announced that they were working on was like this 2D RPG, but it was like it was
Like
very
16-bit graphics for like some
yeah,
of this.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
that
the
looked
environments were super detailed and all that.
yeah,
So that's called like Project Octopath. Like that's the
that's
working
right.
title. There is a demo on the eShop right now that you can download free.
Oh
That
my
game
god.
that game looks pretty hot. It looks good.
All right, I'm going to be downloading that fucking demo because that game has appealed to me the very second that I saw the teaser.
Yeah. So there were yeah. So this other than the Bethesda games, like there wasn't anything like standout-ish. They ended it with like more Mario Odyssey stuff. And if you go on Twitter, you're going to see a lot of pictures of Mario in swim trunks.
Yeah, I did see that.
Whatever. I've been trying to stay away from like as much Mario stuff as possible because like I really I really don't want to see like every world before I play that game basically.
I had a very immature response to that, of course. On Twitter, I wrote, "Hey, Italian plumbers who are no longer plumbers definitely have bigger tits than that, right?"
Oh man. And that was it for the Nintendo Direct. And then the only other news I wanted to talk about was that Nintendo, I guess because they saw the response to the SNES pre-order, the SNES Classic.
Oh yes, this is
And
big news.
so so there was a whole saga with me trying to get a pre-order in for one in which they came up early, I got one in, and then Walmart canceled it, and then all the US retailer sites officially threw up pre-orders, and it was a bloodbath. I didn't get one in, and then Walmart again threw a second round of pre-orders, and so far so good. I got a pre-order in, and crossing my fingers. And they sent me an email where it's like, "Thank you for shopping with us. Take a survey for your experience." And I would love to get this email and then have them cancel my order just so I can tell them how I really feel about
I don't
this.
know. Nintendo is like out there telling people, "Do not buy this thing from scalpers. We
Yeah,
are making more." And
and
yep,
and
I'll let you take the show.
I'm sorry. No, no,
No, no,
no.
go for it.
And they're saying that the NES Classic, which people died, many boffins died, like to try and get one.
It's a trap.
It's a trap. Many boffins died to try to get an NES Classic. Nintendo says they're going to be back in production into next year. I think they said, and that the
I think in 2018, yeah, they'll
yeah,
be.
And that the SNES Classic is also going to be like, they're going to have supply into next year, because they were originally saying that this was just going to be a 2017 item and that was going to be it. But they're saying to people, hey, we're going to really try to ramp up supply this time. So my take is that they're probably like, you're probably done with online pre-orders like that. When that whole period happened, like, that's it. And I think now this is just them, like, this is us trying to allocate.
Well, good, because I never once ever saw that fucking thing in a store. Ever.
Me neither. And the day that the NES Classic launched, I remember like being on Twitter and people were like, "This is the line, the target to get an NES Classic. This is like 60 people in line, and they only have like 15 units in or something like that." But yeah, like Nintendo is apparently trying to make good on the NES and SNES Classic. So hopefully you get one, and hopefully this means that, like, that it hurts the scalpers trying to sell this shit for like $300 a pop.
Oh man, that would be delicious.
Or fucking ThinkGeek, where it's like, here, we're gonna sell you this SNES Classic, but I hope you like having a Mega Man helmet too.
Yeah, that's another thing too. Recently, GameStop has actually like defended their practice of like, when there's a hot item like that.
About this the other day,
yeah,
right?
we were like, they've tried to justify, like they said, well, we do the bundles because it's more convenient for our customers. Oh, really? Because I think it's way more convenient if I only want to spend $300 on something to only spend $300 instead of $550. Go fucking figure. It's like they did that shit with the Nintendo Switch when it first came out. It's like, okay, well, we have these, but you have to buy the Nintendo Switch, and you have to buy Zelda and 3-2-1 Switch, or 2-1 Switch, whatever the hell it's called. Oh, and we hope you like this carrying case, and you want this micro SD card, and like, it's like, dude, just let me buy the thing and let me buy a fucking game and let me get out of here, please.
My thing is too, at the same time, it's like, I wouldn't mind, like, if I were a potential Switch, I wouldn't mind buying a bundle that was like a Switch game, and I wanted Zelda, so Zelda's in the bundle, and it comes with a memory card and like whatever. But don't fucking sell it at a markup to sell a bundle.
Right.
Just sell it at the actual like retail price that all that shit costs. But the thing is too, the thing about that, though, too, is that SD cards are, like, expensive everywhere except fucking Amazon. And I'm not going to spend, like, $50 on a 64-gig card when I could get one for $20 on Amazon.
Right.
Fix your pricing on that shit.
And not only that, but, like, their response to this is, like, it's just more convenient for our customers, so we bundle it for them. It's like...
Shut up!
Right. It's like insulting. It's like, you don't think we know what we want? Like, we don't know how to shop for ourselves? Like,
fucking, it's bad enough that you're like, do you want to put 2-year protection on this? No, like, I'm not going rafting with my fucking 3DS game. I'm going to sit on my couch like a lazy asshole. Like, my couch isn't going to eat the game or something. I don't need 2-year protection.
Right. I never, ever buy that shit. There's
God. Do you want to protect? No, my dog's not going to eat it. It's fine. It's just going to sit on my desk.
Yeah. And yeah, the amount of money they rake in with that shit has got to be fucking dumbfounding. So yeah, good on Nintendo for actually like trying to get out there and correct some of that. But like,
good on Nintendo.
I want to see that. I want to see them trying to meet that demand with all of their product lines, though. You know, like. You can't release a fucking Majora's Mask 3DS XL and make like 4 copies of it and then, be like, oh, too bad.
Or like another Pikachu 2DS that they actually announced for Japan, but like, you can't find the one where he had the nipples on the camera.
My son's birthday present this year was actually a Pikachu Nintendo new 3DS XL.
I wanted that one. I have the red one, which I'm fine with.
Allotted 2 at my GameStop near me.
Oh my lord.
But because only we were the only ones that pre-ordered it, they only got the one. So it's like that's how limited they were. Like if you didn't pre-order, like fuck you, you're not gonna find it anywhere. But that's how Nintendo is. So screw them. So yeah, moving on to our last bit of conversation here, which might go a little bit. We got to talk about this Pewdiepie thing.
So if you don't know, there's a YouTuber out there.
He's got something like 57 million, I think, subscribers on his channel. It's absurd.
What the hell is his actual name? Felix something?
Felix something. I don't know.
Baumgartner. That's a baseball player.
It's something like that sounds similar to that, though.
The point is, he's
a
hot water.
Again, and here's something I wanted to discuss earlier this year, but we didn't get around to it just because we've been busy with other stuff. But earlier this year, he got in trouble because he was doing this video. Now, he's never been a stranger to using controversy in order to gain subscribers. That he kind of does that from time to time, and it's worked for him evidently. And there's usually a little bit of blowback from video game journalists out there, but in the end, it gets him more subscribers and it gets more views on his videos and earns him, some more money. So who cares? But earlier this year, he was kind of trying to, according to him, show just how absurd the world can be sometimes and how messed up things can be. So there's this website or something where I guess you could pay like $5 to have anybody do whatever you want. So in order to be like, well, how fucked up is this and how can we like see if this will really go down, he decided to pay $5 to a couple of guys to hold up a banner that said "Death to all Jews." Now I don't know why it had to be something so hateful. Like I don't know why he couldn't have just like paid some guy $5 to smack himself in the
like what was the gag exactly? Like what joke was he trying to say?
People will do anything for money, I guess, even though it's only $5. Like, but yeah, like he could have told them to do anything. It's like, hey, can you like go on a ride at an amusement park that you're normally too scared to go on? Can you smack yourself in the dick with a hammer, maybe? Like, no, let's go straight for the anti-Semitic "Death to all Jews" banner. Like that's, I don't know, but he got in a lot of hot water over it because he lost. He had deals with like Disney Maker Studios.
He was technically a Disney employee.
Yeah, and with Disney Maker Studios, like they had like deals like for like television content. They had deals for like apps, stuff like that, and that all got left just off the table because Disney Maker Studios were just like, no, sorry, we don't want to do business with you anymore. And also,
dudes who dress like Hitler in their videos or whatever was going on there.
Oh Jesus! And yeah, the other thing was, yeah, he was also on like Google preferred channels list. He got removed from that, and also he was going for YouTube Red. He was going to do season 2 of Scare Pewdiepie, I think is what it was called, and that got canceled too. So he left like the 2 fucking biggest companies in the world that you want to be friends with.
Want nothing to do with him.
Want nothing to do with him. Disney and Google. They're just like, I mean, he wasn't banned from YouTube. He's still able to make videos there, and he's still able to like monetize his videos. But that had to be a learning moment for him, you would think. Anyway, the other week, the other week though, like he's in the news again for this shit because he was doing a stream of
PUBG.
PUBG. Yeah, PlayerUnknown's on the Battlegrounds. And in the middle of a stream, he got mad or something, and he said he's such a N-word.
He dropped the N-word, man. He dropped an N-bomb.
And immediately after he said it, he said, "Oh, geez, fuck. I didn't mean it like that, but what the fuck? That guy's an asshole."
Yeah.
Yeah. He knew he fucked up immediately.
Yeah, and without jumping like right away into the actual discussion, like there's a lot of layers to his like choice of words and where he went with it, because he drops that phrase, he's like, "What?" and the N-word, and then immediately I saw the clip. I already kind of forgot the exact details, but then it's like, oh, he
The
realizes
quote
he
was,
fucked up.
the quote was specifically, "What a fucking n-word. Jeez, oh my god, what the fuck. Sorry, but what the fuck? What a fucking asshole. I
Yeah.
don't mean that in a bad way." And then he starts doing a little laughter. Why would he do that? Legit, why would he do that? Fuck's sake. Yeah, that was the exact quote.
So here's the thing. First of all, okay, and the funny thing is, you and I and our friend Gabe actually had a conversation about the N word, like not too long ago.
Yep.
And our friend Gabe, if you don't know, he's from Italy, so he obviously has a different perception of our culture, and then like maybe either not misgivings, but misunderstandings. Not even misunderstandings, just like curiosities about how and the hows and whys of how we speak and why people say certain things and why cultures do this and that. And this like real conversation about the N word came up, and I think the thing I remember explaining to Gabe was at least that there's a lot of history like rooted in the N word. And there's a conversation about how there's always a conversation about how much power like we assign to words. Now, a lot of people would probably argue that what the big deal is about this dude dropping the N word, and not even just the dude, but the dude is not even an American. He's from Sweden or whatever.
Yeah.
um, but I and without just and the natural reaction is
Switzerland.
the natural reaction is to get like angry right away, because if you're, especially if you're like American, and without trying to assign labels, like I don't want to just say if you're American and progressive, but like if you're a decent person that understands why you shouldn't say that word, like you understand where it's rooted and where like the history of it, and like why people of color like and anybody like still take offense to that word. But the thing that got me was constantly like kind of excusing the guy for not being an American, so he gets to feign ignorance on that. Like we're all collective now, like on the internet together, and you're going to tell me like you don't know that in a major part of the world, like that's not like a word you should say.
Right. And there's
But
been a lot of justification from people online who like Pewdiepie, who are just like, look, he was angry, and in the moment he just said the worst thing that he could think of to say because he was angry.
that's the other major point of contention, is that if PewDiePie gets so angry, why is his first reaction? Why is it that word that just so easily slips out of his vernacular, and then automatically assigns it with, you know, automatically knows that it is a negative connotation word? And the irony is too, and I hate even bringing this person up, but I don't know if you've ever seen this person. Like, I'm like, Ian Miles Chong on Twitter.
No.
Sometimes he gets retweeted by journalists. I wish that shit would stop. He was a dude, he was a game writer or whatever, and then something happened where all of a sudden he became like a gamer gator, to say the least. But anyway, but like one of his reaction, and this dude just basically he's just reactionary. He's a troll and he's reactionary. And his response to this incident was, what is the big deal about him saying? And he specifically says the N word. He doesn't actually say nigger, and I already hate that I said it, but he specifically says the N word. And someone called him out on it and said, well, if it's not such a big deal, why then do you say the N word if you can't just say the word? Like
Yep.
basically saying, well, if you think there's just no power to it, why not just say it? And he couldn't. He had no answer for it.
Well, I just for that, I will say that I think part of the reason why. See, for me personally, like I'm doing a show right now, so for the sake of the show, I'm not that politically correct a person. So just for the sake of having this conversation, because I'm not using it to call anybody anything, I
No,
have
I get it here. Like we are saying it because
right.
this is a conversation we're having.
But I'm saying N-word because I don't want to draw any attention to me, and I also don't want to piss off anybody who's listening, because some people don't
No, I understand
understand.
completely, and I take responsibility for me even using the word like right now.
Right.
Even though,
but like, contextually,
we know the context of it, but again, this is who we are as like Americans, and we know where this word like is rooted. So
especially now, because like we're like racial tensions in our country within the last couple of years have really they're just getting worse and worse and worse.
It's reached a boiling point. But here's the thing too. Anyway, I think then now with PewDiePie, and the third point of contention here is that this is like this is not like an isolated incident. This is like what, the third, fourth time.
Well, he had that thing earlier this year that lost him those deals. He's done it now, but like when that thing happened earlier this year, people like retroed his catalog basically and viewed it, and like they found other incidents where he said something that was either like racially or like religiously insensitive. To get him in a little bit more trouble. So yeah, I mean, he is a bit of a repeat offender in that respect. And again, as I was saying before, a lot of people are saying, well, it wasn't contextually insulting, he just said it because he was mad. But like, what are those people really saying? Like, they're basically saying that it's okay to say the N-word just because you're caught off guard and pissed off by something.
You were in a heated moment, and that's what became like a thing too, like this heated gaming moment in which you spat out this like ugly word. And I think, and I don't want to just be reactionary, like I don't want to be reactionary and be angry about it. There is anger because like, just for the sake of, this is not a thing you should just fucking say, period. But the fact of just like, it should be a teaching moment for people. Like, this shouldn't be another thing we just yell at each other about on the internet. Like, I really would like people, especially if they're like the angry gamer types out there, that like, or like the people who don't think about why like people get upset at the word, like, you should just read about the etymology of the word, that it's not just like that it came out of thin air. There's a lot of, again, I know I'm a broken record, but there is a lot of ugly history attached to that word, not even just from the United States, but from like Europe, from like that Latin language, and how history unfolded. And it just says, I think it says something about a person in which that's their first go-to immediate reaction of an angry moment that has actually nothing to do with race. It's just you playing a game.
Right. So basically, anytime I accidentally stub my toe or hit my funny bone, or my son spits up on me, I should just go straight for the N-word. That's
obviously.
that's the moral of the story here that they're trying to impart on us, I guess.
Look, man, like I think I react, and I'm not dick measuring or anything, but like I kind of react strongly to the, and I'm a minority in this country, so I guess that's why I tend to have stronger reaction to this. And if anyone out there, like for real, like wants to like get in my Twitter or whatever and fucking, like, you fucking SJW, like come at me, man, because that's who I am, because that's how because I just perceive this country and the world like a little differently than some people do, and sometimes I can be contentious about it. But
there's good reason, because George Carlin, I think, said it best in one of his stand-up specials. He's like, you got to think about this. This country, I mean, it was founded on bullshit. This country was founded by a bunch of white guys a bunch of white slave owners who wanted to be free.
By dudes who didn't want to pay their taxes, man. Like,
so I mean, look, for me, for this whole incident, like straight up, I do kind of think that PewDiePie is kind of a piece of shit, and it's not just because he said the N-word. There's a whole thought process that we're gonna have to follow through here. But like, I don't think that PewDiePie is a fucking Nazi. You know, let's not fly off the handle here. I do
And that's
think
the
he's
thing
a piece
too.
of shit.
And that's the thing too. It's not just a matter of this black and white. Like I automatically think PewDiePie is some sort of fascist leading a fucking movement, but like you know,
Right.
it's just like this is not an isolated incident. And
I mean, I don't think he's like. I think he's. I think what he does. I think specifically in this stream, what he does. I think when he's playing with his friends and only his friends, and he's dropping the PewDiePie persona in order to just kind of hang out with his buddies online and play games, and he's on like a voice chat with them, he might get mad and be like, "Oh, fucking N-word," you know?
yeah.
And like in this moment, I think he wasn't. I think he fucked up, and I think he let his personal life slip through there. And I don't think he says it to be like, it's like other people who like get pissed off at someone to be like, fucking faggot. Like, you know, like
Yeah.
I don't think they're actually like trying to be derogatory towards gay people, but at the same time, like, you know, faggot does have like a negative
But
connotation with it.
there's an ugliness to that word. But at the same time, too,
Right.
like even if you're with your friends, and I understand.
Here's another just a side note before you continue that thought. We're talking just minutes ago about how like we don't dare say the actual N-word, but we say N-word in its place. But yet I just said faggot.
Just like casually,
you know, like
there. Well, I dropped the actual word earlier, but the point, like, still though, you know, like where we know the in context of this discussion, and I still feel like the ugliness in it. But obviously, like, I'm not going to say, well, shut up, don't say it. But like, we're having that discussion we're having basically.
Yeah, it's an adult conversation. If you're 7 years old, please turn this off. But if you've made it this far into the show,
if you're 7, do listen, because like
that's a good point. Actually,
this is because it's I don't want to, because you know we both know from our years of like playing games, especially online gaming, like we run into like, you know, trolls all the time, and a lot of times
point, when you load up PUBG and you're in that airplane before you jump, like you have that proximity voice chat enabled for the game, and people say way worse things as you're waiting for the game to start in that airplane than anything PewDiePie has ever said or done. Yeah. And that's not a justification for letting PewDiePie off the hook, because he does not get off the hook. Not by me, not by a lot of people. But yeah, continue your thought. Sorry, just had to say
I was
that.
just saying, like, I don't want to just go out and just scream at the face of like every person who like doesn't understand why people are reacting to this. But like there are going to be those people. Hopefully, like, again, this is a teachable moment for them and they understand. And then there's just going to be like the people who don't want to see like what the issue is here. And I don't know, man. I don't know what lives they're going to lead, but you know, like ultimately, like, it just wasn't. It's just a thing you shouldn't do or say, man. Like I couldn't be clearer than that.
Because as I said, I don't think he's a racist. You know, I think it's just one of those things, which is still very fucked up. But like, because I'm not a very politically correct person, and I hate like pussyfooting around everything, just because like it's gonna maybe get somebody mad. I'll go as far to say, like, whatever he wants to do in his personal life, he's free to do it. Like, I don't care how he leads his life. It's his prerogative. If he wants to play with his friends and he wants to be on a private voice chat, he can say whatever the fuck he wants. I don't care. But this is PewDiePie. And PewDiePie and the other connotations, you know, and the other layers of this conversation is not just the racial thing, but kind of what's happening as a result of this incident and his other incident or incidents in the past. And it's because he has those like 57 million subscribers, and it's because a lot of his videos that go up do get over 1 million views on a regular basis. The guy is virtually the face of YouTube, and he's been doing this a long time, and like this is his bread and butter. And you know, regardless of whether he likes it or not, a lot of people out there want to just, again, they want to say he just fucked up. He's just a normal guy and he fucked up. However, with the kind of money that this guy makes and the fact that he is virtually the face of YouTube, he also, whether he likes it or not, represents Let's Players, gamers in general, content creators online in general. And when he's out there doing this stuff and over again, and he can't seem to separate his stupidity from his mouth because he's got no brain the mouth filter, he is actually bringing a shitstorm down on all of these different things. And there's a very, very possible link between his incident earlier this year, where he did that whole the banner death to all Jews thing, to the fact that advertisers started pulling their money out of YouTube.
Yeah.
Because the way that it worked on YouTube is, hey, we're advertisers. Here's our money, YouTube. We want people to see our ads. Cool. Okay, awesome. But they didn't have any control over where that content went, which is a very different thing than television, because on television, we want to pay for this slot on this kind of programming, run it during this show or shows or whatever. But on YouTube, it was just a Wild West. And advertisers, of course, they're spending good money. They don't want to have their content appear, you know, in something that's racially insensitive like that, or for somebody who is racially insensitive and is going to draw a lot of negative press towards that company for, you know, endorsing it, even though they didn't know their content was going to play before that person's content. So now we have a whole bunch of YouTubers earlier this year, like a lot of the big name ones. YouTube came up with this program, or Google did, whoever, that they're going to start flagging videos for having content that may not be suitable for advertisers, which basically means you're not going to get money for this video anymore from us because it's not advertiser friendly. And it's not even handled by like a committee or a group of people. It's done by bots. So they go through your content, and, like, you know, if they can determine that you say certain keywords or say them too many times or whatever, or if even if like the subject is too risque, your video gets flagged, and then you're not making money on that video anymore. And this may not have hit this point, at least not for a while, if it wasn't for Pewdiepie, the very fucking face of YouTube, you know, saying, hey, guys, can you hold up this banner for me? Or, man, that guy's a fucking N-word. Like, and all that shit that happened this year, and now he's in the thick of it again. Like, he's really doing a disservice. Like,
but he's also doing a disservice, not just to the audience, to YouTubers and the gamers and streamers, but like he's also doing a disservice to himself, and not even just financially, but again, like not to just like stick to this one point, but it's just you know, why I'm just still wondering with him, like what is it in him and what goes on through his mind, I guess, where every go-to to get a reaction is stuff like, whether it's an anti-Semitic like quote gag or whatever it was, or I swear to God there was like a video of him or something where he's dressed like Hitler. I might have seen like a screenshot of that.
I'll Google it while you're talking.
And if I'm wrong, I'll cop to being wrong, but I swear to God that's a thing that happened. And
you heard it here first. If he's wrong, Gooster is calling Pewdiepie Hitler.
And even if it's just even if you're not outwardly like constantly racist or possess racist ideologies 24/7, like what kind of person do you really want to be where these things are your go-tos? You know, that's basically, I guess, what strikes me. There is another whole conversation about this incident too that has gotten some people. So one of the responses to this was from I want to say Camp Santos. Whoops.
Whoa, this is crazy. Hold on a second. So okay. Apparently, and this was after the shit from earlier this year that we were talking about.
Santo, excuse me. I'm sorry.
He did a video called The Hitler Simulator, and it's not actually about a game that's a Hitler simulator, but he was playing in Conan Exiles, and he models his character in the game to have a Hitler-esque haircut. He then roams the game's environment, killing enemies he refers to as Jews. And one of the quotes that's pulled in this article I'm reading is, "It's a level 3 Jews. It's too strong for me," he remarks, coming across some sort of necklace monster. The video's credits list various Third Reich figures as members of the production team. Although the video was removed within an hour of being uploaded, he soon reposted it. According to a tweet from Pewdiepie, he only deleted the video to remove a brief instance of nudity. This is he fucking like to do that after he lost deals? Like, how fucking retarded are you?
That's the guy he wants to be. Like, that's the person he wants to be.
Apparently, it's the thing is, though, is I think maybe the message is starting to sink in a little bit. But I don't want to get to that point of the conversation just yet, because there's other layers to talk about here still. Because he's got, with this latest thing, part of the additional trouble that he's gotten himself in, and which is actually going to probably turn a spotlight on a lot of other people out there, is as far as DMCA content.
This is what I was about to say. So, yeah, this was the other layer of the conversation, is that the developers of the game Firewatch, Campo Santo, I guess the lead director of Firewatch, said that he wasn't going to basically put up with PewDiePie shit. And
I actually have his tweet storm right here. He said, "There is a bit of leeway you have to have with the internet when you wake up every day and make video games. There's also a breaking point. I'm sick of this child getting more and more chances to make money off of what we make. He's worse than a closeted racist. He's a propagator of despicable garbage that does real damage to the culture around this industry."
And that video you just mentioned certainly doesn't help his case.
No. "I'd urge other developers, and will be reaching out to folks much larger than us, to cut him off from the content that has made him a millionaire. Furthermore, we're complicit. I'm sure we've made money off of the 5.7 million views that video of Firewatch has, and that's something for us to think about. Lastly, I love streamers. I watch them daily, and we sent out over 3,000 keys to professional and amateur streamers of Firewatch." But here's the wrinkle, as far as the guy's name is Sean Vanaman from Campo Santo, by the way.
Yeah.
The wrinkle that this statement from him on Twitter introduces, though, is that this may actually be more problematic for Campo Santo than PewDiePie, because right on their website in the facts section, one of the questions is, can I stream this game? Can I make money off of those streams? And the response on the website is, yes, we love that people stream and share their experiences in the game. You are free to monetize your videos as well. It doesn't hurt to let us know on Twitter when you're live. We might show up in your chat. But when he was questioned about the legality of using a DMCA takedown for PewDiePie's stuff, even though they probably, one, actually gave PewDiePie the fucking key to play the game in the first place to produce content, and also they have permission up on their website for anybody to make that content, his defense on Twitter for this was, well, all streaming is infringement, but devs and pubs allow it because it makes us money too. And this is a huge can of worms that he's opening up here, because the first thing that a lot of YouTubers have instantly said in reaction to this is WTFU, which stands for where's the fair use? And this is an argument that YouTubers have clung to each time a developer has sort of issued a takedown for one of their videos. And the way it works is that word quickly spreads amongst the rest of the YouTuber community, and they band together in order to basically save their collective asses so that they don't have their stuff getting ripped down by publishers who just say, I don't like your stuff. But, as far as the whole we can do whatever we want because of fair use thing, it's like a really gray area. It's like Let's Play videos are basically like the Wild West of like content, as far as I know. Like, you have people like Total Biscuit on Twitter who actually allegedly talked to a lawyer who says that, I'll just read his quote. He said, spoke to an actual lawyer. Opinion was Campo Santo is 100% within legal rights. DMCA applies. Let's Plays are not fair use. Website, the stuff that, they said, hey, it's fine to stream, is non-binding. So those arguments are basically out the window, leaving should they, shouldn't they, which is up to them, really. What a mess. But there's also another guy on YouTube who's actually a usually spot on legal analyst in the video gaming world. His name is Leonard French. And he actually believes that this would be abuse of the DMCA system. And his argument here is that, okay, when the developers of Firewatch on their website say it's okay to stream, there is basically a sort of, there's like a permission there. And that is, you know, something that's admissible in court.
Because
you know,
it does sound like they kind of reneged on it, because you
right.
were reading off their fact, right, that they were total that that you said that the site says that they totally embrace streaming and the monetization of
100%.
And then the guy walked it back, basically walking back.
And he probably gave PewDiePie the code to be able to make content.
Yeah.
So like, and so the thing that's really sticky about this situation for Campo Santo is that, so what, the video was legal for years at this point, because the game's been out for like what, close to 2 years probably. And now years later, because they didn't like something PewDiePie said on his own stream on a totally unrelated game, they're going to issue the takedown. That's not, he doesn't think that's legal. And that PewDiePie could actually, if he takes this thing to court and if he wins, he might actually even have legal precedent to do DMCA takedowns for anybody who's posted his clip of him saying the N-word without having criticism attached to it. So like it's a big fucking mess. And Jim Sterling put out some quick opinions about this, saying that PewDiePie at this point is a liability for the entire industry of gamers and YouTubers. And as I was saying before, that's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
You know, because again, advertisers pulling away from YouTube. I don't know, but like PewDiePie, after all of this stuff has been going on and all this stuff about censorship and DMCA takedowns and whether, you know, they're being abused or not, and what the future for Let's Players are going to be, all because of his stupid, you know, controversial attitude. And that's how he likes to get viewers and subscribers and everything. He did come out with a response video finally, like a day or two ago. And I'm actually, don't go to NeoGAF because they are fucking raking this motherfucker over the coals. But I'm actually really surprised at how well he did his response video. Did you watch it?
No.
Okay, so basically he comes out and he's like, okay, I just wanted to talk about this. And, you know, he's like, normally when I see people like other streamers or other people in games like say this, it makes me cringe. And he's like, and it was in the heat of the moment, and I was angry, and I really just wanted to say the worst thing that came to mind. And obviously, I didn't go in the right direction with that. I totally fucked up. He's like, I'm an idiot, he said. You know, he's like, I want to learn from this, and I do want to grow from this. And yeah, he basically said all the right things, you know, like he's like, I'm really sorry. You know, I just, it's not the kind of person that I want to be. It's not the kind of person that I want to be for my, you know, with my content or whatever. I want to see if I can find like an article actually real quick that maybe has specific quotes. I'll just type in PewDiePie because it's probably going to be one of the first thing that pops up. Yeah, here it is. CBS News. PewDiePie apologizes for using N-word during live stream. So let's pull that up. Okay. Yep. Whenever I go online and I hear other players use the same kind of language that I did, I always find it extremely immature and stupid. And I now personally fed into that part of gaming as well. I said the worst word I could possibly think of, and it just sort of slipped out. I'm not going to make any excuses why I did it because there are no excuses. He said Wednesday he was really sorry if he offended, hurt, or disappointed anyone with all of this. And he alluded to the anti-Semitic controversy and said, it seems like I've learned nothing from these past controversies. I'm just an idiot, but that doesn't make what I said or how I said it okay. So this was probably like one of the most humble videos I think I've seen PewDiePie do, but like NeoGaf are freaking the fuck out. But like, again, I'm not saying, oh, okay, he's cool in my book now, but like, what else is he supposed to say? I mean, he said everything that he could say to anybody who cared enough to hear what his response was. You know what I mean?
Well, stop fucking saying the N-word in streams in heat of the moment gaming, man. Like, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Look, I like.
But last time, here's the reason why I'm happy with his comment, his statement, at least on this, is that he took full ownership of it this time. Last time with the anti-Semitic thing earlier this year, what happened was he was like, I'm really sorry for what I said, blah, blah, blah. But then he went into this thing like, yeah, but you know, journalists blew this up, so that's why it's a big deal. No, if you never did it in the first place, PewDiePie, it wouldn't have been a big deal ever. This was something that you did. You're not taking full ownership of this, so your apology now seems completely insincere. This time around, however, he's not passing the buck to anyone. He's pointing the finger at himself and he says, I'm a fucking moron. I'm sorry. Like, I want to learn from this, and apparently I haven't done that yet, but that's what I want to do. Like, I don't know what else to say, but I'm sorry, you know.
But he also doesn't get to, and he did this with the Wall Street Journal thing, which I didn't follow 100%, but you know, like, you're PewDiePie, man. Like, you don't get to like play, like, feign ignorance of the fact that like journalists are going to report that you fucking said something like awful and hateful. Like, you can't just chide them for like reporting something that actually happened and talking about it, because you're fucking PewDiePie, man.
Right. And the hypocritical thing about that, what you just mentioned, actually, is that he actually relies on journalists. I don't know. I don't know if I actually mentioned this in an earlier podcast or not, but you know, last year, yeah, we were talking about that thing where he was basically saying, oh, if I get this many subscribers, I'm going to shut down my channel. Right. When it comes to controversial stuff like that he knows is going to get clickbait, like, he relies on journalists to spread that information. But when it comes to something like this, and he, you know, does something anti-Semitic or he says something racist, then all of a sudden, well, you know, like, I never knew it was ever going to get this out of hand. It only blew up so crazy because journalists just wouldn't let it go. It's like, dude, you don't get to play journalists in order to feed your career and then all turn around when you do something bad and say, oh, I didn't know that's how it worked. Like, completely hypocritical.
You don't get to play that card, man. And look, I'm also not going to just all of a sudden be like, I'm not going to just go into this black and white area of, now this dude's just a piece of shit for life. Although, like, if he can find a way for real, and not just through a video, to make this a teaching moment, not just for him, but for his audience, because I think, like, arguably this is more about how his audience gauges this stuff, because we already know that, you know, there are people who watch, there are people who just easily defended this dude without, either they don't care or they just really don't understand why this became a problematic thing for people, the way he reacted. I don't, you know, if PewDiePie legitimately wants to make this a good, solid teaching moment, self-reflection and teaching moment for not just himself, but especially his audience, who are young kids that have been watching this dude play Five Nights at Freddy's for however long.
I'm just going to think out loud right now. So, you know, I don't know why. I'm just thinking, obviously generations have changed since the time of American history, and, like, you know, Martin Luther King and everything, when, you know, there were, you know, civil fights being fought for, you know, equality against, you know, all races and colors. And I feel like a lot of the people that were part of that movement and were alive during that movement, you know, they're old now or have been passing away or whatever. And we have younger and younger generations that are coming up, you know, every year, who have not actually really seen this ugliness. You know what I mean? Like, they see the day-to-day racism stuff, but it's just like, they probably don't have an understanding, like a clear understanding. Like they know, oh, slavery, but like it's just probably like a word, a concept to them.
And
It's so far
PewDiePie doesn't get to
in
like all.
history.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's so far removed from them in history at this point. Like, you know, there was some, even like a black comedian at one point, you know, they were like, why are you all fucking upset about this shit? Were you ever a slave? Were your parents a slave? Did you ever know a slave? Like, you know, they were making a point like, what's the point of being like upset about, you know, something that happened that long ago, because like it doesn't affect your life anymore. Obviously there's racism in the country and everything like that, and all across the world even, but you know, I'm just wondering if that it really is kind of what you were saying before, just not really understanding just how deep that word cuts. That's a possibility. There might be, you know, in addition to insensitivity, it could just be a matter of ignorance as well. And it's also probably clouding things up. Again, I know it's a lame topic of conversation, but again, when you have black people saying the N-word to each other constantly, it's sort of, I think that diminishes the word, especially since it's part of pop culture in rap music. You know, you hear it all the time. And for like, you know, a white kid who likes rap to be listening to that music, they're going to sing along with it. And the N-word ain't no thing, you know, like it's very murky. It's very murky. And
That's murky, but I'll also say like knowing black, like they're not like black people aren't like in 100% agreement themselves about when rap artists, you know, they use the N-word. And that, and especially, and I've seen way too many like arguments about the context of saying nigga versus like nigger, and it's just like you don't, like, if you're not black, you don't really get to have that conversation. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not speaking that directly to you, but I'm just saying the people who get upset when someone gets upset at them using it.
Yeah, like I think maybe we were having the conversation online where we were kind of discussing that maybe it was a way for them to sort of take back,
it might be,
power over the word. And yeah, you're right, it might be, but like I just personally think it's a terrible way to try and, you know.
That's fair too. Like, you know, it's,
yeah.
I think as long as we acknowledge that there's an ugliness and a reason for the reaction, that this isn't just SJWs and like people like snowflakes and fucking shit crying foul, like or people are coming after PewDiePie, or that this is people jealous of his success or some nonsense like that. This is a real thing, a real reason, a problematic issue, especially based on repeating instances of behavior that doesn't gel.
100%. And even if he was just using that word just in the heat of the moment, which has been like the famous phrase throughout this whole thing for defense for PewDiePie,
has been the phrase, and it's like,
right.
I've had heated gaming moments. 0 of them involve the N-word.
Yeah, I don't know anybody who's just like, man, that fucking N-word. Like, dude, never. You know, usually the popular words amongst my friends are, you know, shit or fuck when they're mad, you know, like,
you motherfucker, like,
or, you know, or if they're going to say something directly to that person, like, you know, fucking douchebag comes to mind, fucking asshole, like, you know, definitely not that. It's racism, you know,
but ultimately my finer takeaway is that if PewDiePie wants to fucking better himself, man, better himself and educate himself and educate his audience, man.
And 3 weeks from now, don't do a Hitler-esque video.
Yeah, like
where you're dressing up characters in your game as Hitler and then calling the other NPCs in game Jews and then killing them. Like, I get what he was probably trying to do. Like, he's trying to do like shock value humor, but there's nothing funny about that.
You
Like,
can't just dress as Hitler and say laugh, you know?
like
Like,
I'm not gonna say that like privately with a friend, like I haven't made like off color
you have a Hitler
jokes.
costume in your closet
No, no Hitler
and you
costumes, but
entertain
like
people at parties.
I'm not gonna say that I haven't, you know, privately with a friend in a conversation, like made a joke that was off color, you know, like, but like that, like when you're angry, I think it shows a different side of who you are when the
If
first
it's
word
if
that
it's
comes out
really
of your mouth
exactly.
is the
Yeah.
N word.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, if I'm talking to a friend of mine, you know, and I'm just like,
But also, if you, Mike, like own the fact that you are telling an off-color joke, that you acknowledge that this is a fucked up joke, whatever you're making, but you go with it, and but you understand it. Like I don't want to just be a judge and say, well, that's fine, but you acknowledge at least you know what you're saying.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And you own that.
And I
That's
feel like there's probably a lot of people out there who are like, you know, on the whole hate PewDiePie train that probably also say things privately with their friends that they don't admit to.
that they
Yeah,
won't own too.
right. You know, like I think probably everybody has a moment where they say things that aren't appropriate, you know.
Yeah, and
But again, you
uh,
know, regardless of the whole, like, because we're starting to encapsulate like the whole racism debate instead of like, you know, focusing more on the PewDiePie thing. But in PewDiePie's case, again, like the difference between me saying something that's off color to a friend in private, where like, you know, we know each other, you know, and it's not like a hateful thing compared to someone like him who, again, he's representing YouTube. He's representing gamers. There are people who don't watch YouTube on a regular basis who still know who he is
and
and
there
may
are
tune into
people
his content.
and there are people who know who he is by proxy and think that's what gamers are, or that's what people who must like enjoy play games are.
And you know damn well right now that like Google's probably sitting back and being like, well, you know, we really have to pay more attention to this Let's Play shit. You know, that was just caught because, you know, PewDiePie's got millions of people on his thing. What about other people? How are we going to deal with the Let's Play situation? Like, what is that going to devolve into? Like, not that that's the bigger issue at hand, but again, it's just another wrinkle in the fabric of this whole shitstorm that PewDiePie created.
And yeah, that's the other interesting conversation is just what it's not just him, but like Campo Santo, like this precedent they could be setting as a
And that's
result.
going to be really interesting because, like, as of right now, there's no news out there that PewDiePie is going to lawyer up and maybe take them to court over those statements, or maybe a DMCA takedown being illegal or whatever. But, you know, from what I understand, I have talked to a couple of people who they're not lawyers, but they have an understanding. And because they've worked in this industry a very long time, and their take on it is like, even if there's not like a contract, if you're giving like sort of like an implicit agreement that, hey, this is okay to do, you can't turn around later and just say, oh, well, no, that was not cool. You know, like if you have an agreement, some sort of understanding, like that definitely does hold up. That thing on the website does hold up because they're giving permission. And
Because that's the position of your
but
company. It's
right,
not just
but
your voice.
law is heavily interpreted, as we were talking about earlier, very differently between attorneys. And not only that, but law is also interpreted very differently from judge to judge to judge. So if this thing goes to court, it's still going to be a real nail biter. Very worrying to wait and see what the judgment's going to be, because this could end up in Campo Santo's favor. And if it does, that means a lot of bad things for a lot of people who make a living on YouTube or in other avenues of content creation online.
Oh yeah, totally.
So, I mean, we're going to have to wait and see what happens there. But hopefully, with that statement that PewDiePie basically made, admitting that he fucked up and he's a moron and he wants to learn and grow from this whole experience. Hopefully,
burn the Hitler costume for starters.
Yes, burn the Hitler costume for starters. That would be film that, but don't be wearing another Hitler costume to replace it
while you're doing it.
Like don't be fornicating with a Nazi flag around your junk while you're burning the old Hitler costume. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where this is going to go, but hopefully if he's really serious about wanting to learn from all this, he's not going to lawyer up, and he's just going to be like, fine, if Campo Santo doesn't want me to do any content for their games anymore, I won't, and I'll leave it be. But if all of a sudden he turns this into a lawsuit for an opportunity for more money, or in order to, I don't know, get payback, or maybe even to draw more controversy to his channel and get a bigger audience again, I mean, then it's going to seem like his statement that he just made is completely invalidated again, Yeah. So I think we've talked about this enough. I think we've covered most angles that we could, but you were very gracious in your whole that you want to have this turn into a very teachable moment for people out there more than anything. And I think that's
because I'm tired of like someone fucking up on the internet and then we just we lynch them. Like that, to use a horrible ass metaphor, but
no, you're right. And actually, there was an article in the news the other day about one of the southern states where there was actually a boy who actually has marks on his neck from practically being lynched. So, racism is very alive today, and it's in the United States of America. It's definitely more alive now than I think it's. Well, maybe not alive now, but it had been dormant for sure. And then there had been, social cues that people knew were okay, and other ones that they knew weren't okay. But now it's just like people are very open in certain parts of this country about where they stand between like race and religions, and like people are really getting violent about this stuff. And this is part of the reason why someone like PewDiePie really needs to learn to differentiate what his personal life self is and not perpetuate it on his channel where he's a brand. And now that he has kind of stepped over that line, yeah, let's see him turn it into a teachable moment. But I think that the apology's out there. I think he's just going to move on, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. That's about all that can be said about it. And then just see where all this goes, because I don't want to say that this is gonna go away, but like.
I feel like news-wise, this specific story I think is pretty much probably over for now. But I feel like we are going to be seeing the residual effects of this specific incident for some time to come. So, yeah.
Just give everyone an SNES classic, and we're all peaceful world.
Gabe just messaged me and said, pretend to ignore the YouTube chat, asshole. I actually don't have the YouTube channel open. So yeah, sorry, Gabe, but I did actually send you an invite. I didn't think you would be awake, but by chance you were up. I did send you an invite to actually come into the show. So, yeah. So if you've got shit to say, come say it to our fucking face. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I think that's about it for the show. I mean, we've been here for like a good 3 hours because we had a lot of stuff to catch up on. So, is there anything that you think that we missed?
No, I think we especially managed to work in today's news, which is cool. But I think we got a good handle on it, and now we're just sitting waiting for I'm waiting for Mario Odyssey.
I just have to reiterate again that I'm really glad that you actually participated in the conversation the way that you did, because normally when we get on like touchy subjects, like you kind of want to like be like, nope, I don't want to get into that, but you use this.
It depends on the topic, I guess, but I think it's just because I have I have words about race.
And it's why it's important to talk about it, you know?
Yeah, but no, I think I mean, I say nope like to certain subjects, but I think most of the time I'm like I guess I don't convey that I'm like half joking, but I think this was a very real thing, this incident that was very much worth discussing. That it wasn't just this one-off thing.
Yeah, especially since with him, especially the face of YouTube, it happened time and time again. Yeah,
the face of YouTube needs to rethink some rethink some things.
Yeah, like maybe getting a new face because it ain't working out for him so well.
But yeah, I think we covered everything good. I think this is a pretty good discussion on a major topic.
Yeah, we had a shout out earlier that I missed from Slick Moff, our old buddy there, who we had conversations about that Batman game, which I have no idea what the fuck happened with that. I mean, I haven't been in touch with anybody.
Oh, what was the last rumor that it was like Damian?
Well, I mean, the game was supposed to be a Damian Wayne Batman game, and you know, I started getting some rude people who were messaging me about that game, like acting like I owed them information that like I wasn't revealing otherwise. And I got so sick of it after a while, I was just like, you know what? Yeah, I was just like, I don't want to follow this anymore. I'm not going to feed information to people. If I hear information privately, cool. But I haven't heard anything anyway because I haven't been like, you know, pushing for information. But the last that I heard was from Jason, what's his name?
Bateman?
No, Jason Stryker. I don't know. I don't remember what his name is. He's a video game journalist, dude. Whatever is it?
Giant Bomb?
No, not him.
Oh.
Schreier, Jason Schreier.
Schreier. Oh, Kotaku.
Yeah, he had apparently heard that the game had been rebooted. So
was this before or not to keep dragging this
podcast. Was after.
Was this before or after the Suicide Squad thing?
After. This was like as I think like last like October or so, like before this the PlayStation Experience event. He had he said, oh, we're probably going to see a trailer, and it didn't happen. And yeah, there was some stuff that happened, and apparently like Suicide Squad was like canceled, and some other internal changes were happening within you know, WB Montreal or whatever. And sometime after that, I don't know if it was like earlier this year, early in the year, maybe spring, maybe before that, I don't remember the timeline, but he ended up saying that the last that he heard was actually the project had been rebooted. So who the fuck even knows? And Kevin Conroy within the last week or so has actually said that they're not going to be making any more Batman Arkham games. But I also take that with a huge grain of salt, because if they are rebooting the Batman game, that could just mean that they're just not doing the Arkham verse and they're going in a different direction, and he's not going to be a part of it. They could get the guy who voiced Batman for Arkham Origins to do the Batman voice again, because that wasn't Kevin Conroy. And there's been other rumors that it's going to be, you're going to be able to play as both Batman and Robin and the Owl Court, the Court's Owls or something like that. I don't know who the villains are. I don't know much about that universe, but that's all just rumor. I haven't heard anything like in a more official capacity since sometime last year. So yeah. Anyway,
here's what I heard. Nothing. We know.
Yeah. It's not worth following anymore at this point. But anyway, hello, Slick Moth. Long time no speak. Maybe we can get you on a show at some point. And yep, Gabe popped in on the YouTube chat to say morning sunshines, even though it's 11:16 at night here for us. He's like a half a day ahead. He's fucking time traveling, that motherfucker. So
hello.
Holy shit, he actually popped in.
Whoa.
Hi, Gabe.
I had to download Chrome because Firefox is no longer supported.
Like, yeah, I had to do the same thing just to get this thing. Missing all the important conversation about Pewdiepie and all that stuff.
oh, I'm so desperate about it. How can I survive without talking about Pewdiepie?
Is there anything that you wanted to talk about before we get out of here, Gabe? Because we've been on for like 3 hours.
Not really.
Okay.
I have no news. Like the biggest news is that I started Infamous Second Son, and I fucking hate it. Like I hated it when they demoed it to me before it came out way back when, but I didn't play it from the start when they demoed when we had the demo, and now I started it. Like before it let me play, I swear an hour must have went by before I could actually fucking play, and they wouldn't take away the controls from me. And I got frustrated, and I fucking disinstalled it. So uninstalled it. So
You heard him. He uninstalled it. Love that Italian accent of yours, Gabe's.
yeah,
Mwah.
I'm sleepy as fuck, so it's gonna be even worse.
Yeah, listen, because you know, you had been busy, and then we had been busy, and then all three of us have been busy. I have not dreamed about even asking you to join us for these shows. Like, I'll send you a courtesy invite every once in a while if we do these things, just to see if you'll pop in. But we really need to get you in on a full show sometime in the not too distant future.
Yeah, I know. I actually wanted.
I don't want to hear. I know you need to do it.
Yeah.
You need to do it.
By the way, you're super fucking slim.
Oh, do I look different to you?
Oh yeah, a lot.
Okay, good. That's a positive thing. I'm almost at the 75-pound mark now.
Looking super good.
Yeah, I only have 2 chins now instead of 4. So yeah, that's good. No, I feel a lot better for sure.
So anyway, I didn't want it to interrupt you guys' discussion, so go ahead.
No, we were actually closing out the show for like the 3rd time.
Okay.
Yeah, we were, but I don't know. Like, Gabe, are we allowed?
Oh, you're breaking up.
Oh, I was asking if are we allowed to talk about anything or
about what? God damn it, you're breaking up like hell. Let me see if I can.
Yeah, he's kind of breaking up on my end too.
Oh, God damn it.
Okay, now you're fine.
Oh, okay. No, I was gonna say, can we talk about things or no?
What things?
The things we've been busy with.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Oh, we can?
Yeah.
All right. Well, then the big news is, because I kind of pussyfooted around it earlier, just very briefly, just saying that we've been busy doing stuff. But the 3 of us are involved in a video game magazine that's going to be distributed throughout Europe and who the fuck knows where else. It's being translated into a couple of different languages. So, yeah, you should be seeing it over on the other side of the pond if you're listening from across the ocean on Gabe's side of the world.
Yep.
But we don't know when it's going to be released yet. It's a Minecraft magazine.
If you ever heard of that game.
If you ever heard of it. But yeah, we don't know when it's going to be released, but we personally have 2 issues pretty much in the can. So it's just a matter of cutting through red tape, I guess, before it gets released. And then it'll be bi-monthly. So every other month you can expect to see that. So if you're in the United States,
more a companion than a magazine. Like, it's more.
It's a little bit of everything. We have a very nice thick section in the magazine that is a companion, but we also do news, and we also talk about mods and some of the cool creations that are out there. And there's even a nice little fiction piece by someone you may know. So it's not Shakespeare or anything, but it's cool. It's cool.
It's cool.
Have a good night, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning into this very long delayed podcast, our stutter step, since we tried to record this about a week ago. And hopefully we'll be back with a little bit more frequency unless we start picking up with the mag again, because then that's going to suck up all of our free time.
Yeah.
Peace.